Welcome to Thursday, August 19th, 2021, meeting of the Hingham Historic Districts Commission. This meeting is called to order at 6:35 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12th, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. We have 6 items on the agenda today. Does anyone have any conflict of interest?
No.
No.
All right.
Nope.
First item on the agenda is 38 Fearing Road, and the voting members are Justin, Mike, Carol, Catherine, and myself. The next one after that is 219 May Street, and the voting members are Justin, Carol, Catherine, Robert, and myself. 392 Main is the first time it's officially on the agenda. So the voting members would be Justin, Carol, Catherine, myself, and Mike. Are you able to be a voting member?
Yep.
Actually, I would appoint you to the rest of them.
Okay.
So Justin, Carol, Catherine, myself, and Mike for 392 Main, 166 North, 16 Middle, and 279 North. So with that, we'll have either the first owner or owner's rep. I see John here. Walk us through this first project, which is a continuance from the last meeting.
Guys, how's everybody doing tonight?
Hey, John.
Good.
Good. So thank you for coming out Saturday, looking at the property. I don't know if you
He's muted.
We can't hear you, John. You're muted too, Andrea.
No, I'm not. Thank you. Do you want, John, do you want me to put up the plans?
I'm sorry, Andrea?
Do you want me to put the plans up?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, will do. So hang on just a minute. Okay, here we go. Can everybody see that? No? Hang on, just let me just get to the other part, which is there we go. All right, Catherine, I have to do this later. Okay. Don't know why this isn't popping up like it should, but it will. Just give it a minute. Now can people see that?
Yeah,
Yes.
All right, good. R, she blows. All right, so let's start from the beginning. Go ahead, John.
Andrea, it looks like you're hunting for that little triangle to the right-hand middle of that left
Oh, yeah.
right-hand bar.
Where am I?
Go down a bit. Right near where it says compress PDF on the right. There's a little
Oh,
triangle. See the little triangle to the left, to the left, to the
why
left.
am I not seeing that?
Little, it's teeny triangle right there, right there.
Yeah,
Is that what you were looking for?
well, it's not quite, but it works, it looks better. Okay, thank you, go ahead. John, you want to go ahead?
Don't see John on the call anymore.
Yeah, where is John? All right, John, are you there? Huh.
Hi, Andrea. This is Chris Watson. I think John may have dropped off.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Chris.
we scared him.
Okay, so you want to get started, Chris? We have all the pictures of your lovely home. Here's the site plan that shows the new construction, proposed addition, okay? Right here, everybody can see that?
Mhm.
Okay. Do we have John back?
John just let us know that his internet dropped out momentarily. He's working on dialing in, I believe.
Okay, all right. All these technical difficulties. All right, so I'm not so sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. Here's the roof plan. Existing. This is to be removed. We know that back portion. And the proposed on this side.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so this is what the end result will look like. Al Kearney's sketch. All right, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
take it away.
we can, is John back or?
I don't think so. But that's all right. We'll just have to get going. We have our owner present, so that's okay.
Chris or Natalie, have there been any changes since we saw this on July 15th?
I'm sorry, I think I was muted. There have been no changes to the plans or the drawings as shown on the screen since July 15th. I know there are a few items that were raised at the last meeting that I believe John addressed or tried to address to the best of his ability at the site visit on Saturday.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if there's anything that was still pertinent in the eyes of the board. But no, what you see here is still the most current drawings that we have.
Okay. So are there any abutters who have any comments or questions? Anyone from the commission? Any questions?
Tracy?
Yep.
Hi, I think at the site visit, we had talked about maybe minimalizing the side door a little bit so it's not as prominent as the front door. And there were some questions on the addition going on the back from the other side. Nobody got to work on this plan between then and now?
No, so I think the conversation that we had had with John since the site visit on Saturday was that we're not sure if the side entrance, if that's just a heavy line weight, or if that would really stick out past the jog in on the side of the proposed addition, but we certainly understand and are willing to make that a little bit less obtrusive. As for the side of the house, I'm not sure if you're referring to the view from Lincoln Street or
Right
from,
side, the right side of the house.
okay, so from Fearing.
You have two double doors back there that look like they're all glass or sliding doors or something, and an exterior fireplace. And they do show from the sidewalk. We took pictures that day. You will be able to see them. No discussion about that?
Well, I'm not sure we have anything before us to discuss about that, so that makes it a little challenging.
Okay. Should this get postponed till next time, maybe?
I'm back here. I don't know. I'm sorry. The internet dropped
Oh,
out.
yay, okay,
Welcome back.
good.
What wonderful
That helps.
technology. I'm
right.
sorry. So yeah, my whole system just crashed. So I'm on my phone doing the best I can. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's good.
Sorry. All right, let's do what I missed. Bring me up. What do I need?
A3,
Yep.
we first started talking about the side entrance
Yes.
and how it's as big and grand as the front entrance, actually more so. And was there any way to diminish that a little bit so it's clear that the front door is still the front door and the important part of the house, and the back entrance is the utility entrance?
Exactly. And I spoke with Alan briefly on the phone about that, and he thinks that we can pull it back and narrow it up and make it a little bit narrower and pull it back towards the house. His intent was to duplicate the front porch facade and just trying to get a little cover over that area. So we can also look into cantilevering that section of roof line and bringing the roof line out only so far, not making it quite so prominent, and not have those posts there. We just have the entrance steps with a little bit of cover to cover the door. Get the support in the structure coming from the inside to hold the roof. So we can look at that avenue too. I think if you remove the post, it takes some of the emphasis off of that being so far forward of that side elevation. I don't know if that would be helpful or not.
That, it does sound like it would be helpful. Thank you. I'd love to take a
Okay.
look at that. And the
And I
second,
heard, yeah, go ahead.
the second area we just started to talk about is the right side elevation, which can be seen from Fearing. We took pictures that day, and you've got two, what look like patio doors of some kind. I don't think they're sliding. They look like double doors, French doors, sort of, and an
Oh,
exterior.
Andrea, could we show A3 on the
Sure.
screen?
Yep,
Upper right corner of A3. There it is. No,
that's
Yeah.
A3.
Yeah.
the upper right corner.
Okay,
There's two long doors and an exterior chimney, which we had talked about.
So
Is it?
So on that elevation, I think one of the things that makes those doors stand out currently on the supplied plans is that Alan had, for some reason unbeknownst to me, had not drawn any grill pattern in those doors. So they look like long vertical lines on that side with no grills in them. And where the rest of the house is 2/2, he's got the windows to the left-hand side being a little bit higher than the door. I think he
Yeah.
did that on purpose to give it some separation with the pediments, and you'll notice there's no grand pediments over the door.
Right.
All the other windows have pediments and they're kind of grand. But in the keeping of a real Italian house, the pediments are somewhat mundane. Actually, all the trim is somewhat mundane. It does have the curved overhangs, but it doesn't have any bracketry anywhere on the house. And that was kind of indicative to an Italian age. So I think if we drew some grills in there, they'd look a lot less modern and a lot more in keeping with the style of the house, where we could divide it straight down the center with a grill and then divide that left and right into equal panes, and make them a little bit more window-like in nature. And then the fireplace there. So I spoke with the clients at length about that. There's 2 exposed fireplaces. One comes up through the roof where the burner is working now, one on the front of the house, which was added later. There's one in the basement that was removed at the kitchen floor line, and there was one that is where the bathroom is now. So there's been 2 chimneys removed already. And then the third one was, we were going to use primarily to put a new heating plant in the house, since the other chimneys won't accept the heating plant. They'd have to be removed and then built back up through the house. They're not adequate for that. They don't have enough flues. So instead of having a air-to-air type of exchanger with a new gas boiler where you have a ventless flue system, that would require either us to either put a box on the outside of the house, a big metal vent to vent the exhaust out. And that also gets into locations of doors and windows by code. So the thought process was to put a chimney there. We could put the boiler in it, get the gas fireplace in it. The front chimney is not usable, and the one in the center of the house, I can't even find it. It starts at the basement and it exits at the roof. Everywhere else, it's been walled over, blocked in, or has some type of cabinetry over it. So we would need to explore that, to even if that one is even still usable.
Okay, I'm
So I
not,
think that,
I wasn't questioning the number
I
of
think that-
chimneys. It's an old house. It might have had a lot of chimneys as
Yeah.
additions were put on. I'm questioning the fact that the type of chimney is on the outside of the house, which is very 1900s to me. I don't think in Civil War time you would have seen an exterior chimney go up like that.
I agree. I mean, it could have been where we're thinking this was the extension of the original house. We're not trying to mimic the original house exactly. I don't think we want to make it a long facade on either side. We're trying to step it in to give it some scale back and kind of make it look like a back L that was added 20 or 30 years later. They're typically how they would be done. As the family enlarged, the children would come home and live there. The houses didn't get bigger until the extended families returned. So I think that adding a chimney from the 19th century in the back of that, to me, is not as offensive. But we could bring the chimney inside and only have it exit through the roof. We already have one exposed chimney on the front. So the chimney on the front's being somewhat hidden by the porch. And they've in fact changed the brick color as it goes up through the elevations, from the base through the porch, through the roof, through the porch roof, and then up through. They've actually painted the brick that color. And I was going to suggest that if we painted the brick the house color like they did on the front, it seems to minimize its exposure and its visual impact on that side. But we can certainly discuss pulling the chimney in, doing an internal chimney, running the walls past, and just having it exit from the roof line at the very eave, and that it would match just all the other chimneys on
I
the
think that
property.
would be really appropriate to do that if you can work it out. Don't want to mess up your kitchen design, but that would be great.
No, I mean, we certainly want to do the right thing here. So the client has expressed their desire to protect as much of this house as possible. They bought it for a reason. It's special, and they know that, and this is going to be their forever home. So I believe them when they say that, and I think it needs a lot of work, and I think they're devoted to making that happen. So if that's one of the things that we need to do to continue on and go in the right direction with the board's favor, then it's certainly something that we're going to really discuss, and I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue.
Thank you.
Okay.
I assume that there's a furnace flue through one of the chimneys.
There is the one that is the center chimney in the house that exit about center behind the parapet of the main center section of the highest section. There is a chimney there. On it right now, it's running a gas burner through it, but the chimney is not really able to be inspected. It's completely covered. And the fear is that there was 2 existing fireplaces based on that chimney, and both of them have been closed up, and both of them have been plastered over, had cabinetry put in front of them. So we can't even inspect the condition of the chimney. I could look down and see the top, the bottom 4 feet, and I could look up and see such, but we have to gut the walls to see what the chimney is, how it was blocked up. We don't want to pump carbon monoxide. I mean, that may be
Right.
happening. I mean, it's a very poor situation, a very poor design, a very poor burner. I don't think the mechanicals of this house have not seen a lot of love, and I would say that stretches back until about 1970s. I think the people who lived there loved the house. I just don't think the budget was there to update all the mechanicals, the hot water heaters, the electrical. It just hasn't been done. It's not anywhere near modern at all. There's been so many abandoned pipes. There's been so many abandoned wires that it really begs to kind of strip it back and see what we have to work with to make a safe house. And the only way to do that would be for me to get in there and start gutting around those chimneys, which, if we're not going to use it, would be a shame to destroy the inside of the house to open up something that we have no intention to use. We can abandon it at the roof line, frame over it, roof over it, leave it in the walls if need be. If it starts to play with the floor plan, then we'll have to look at that again. But in my professional opinion, and I will bring in a mason, it would need to be at minimum need to be lined, and it's only a single flue chimney at that, as far as I can tell.
Of course, the house was built before there was central heating.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm trying to understand about the back half of the house, because I think that I'm sticking with what I said earlier at the meeting. I believe the back half of the house was a single floor. And I'm missing a chimney, which is where there's a bathroom now. So there was a chimney in the back L. I can see the base of it. I can see the framing. There was also a heat plant underneath the kitchen. And that was just a smaller, say 16 by 16. So that would have been a stove or possibly a coal unit. But that ends at the floor line of the basement ceiling. So if it ever went upstairs, that kind of makes me wonder why it's missing. And that tells me, it leads me in the direction that was a 1-floor house. And that was probably one of the main heating areas for it, because the size of the chimney was not a fireplace sized chimney. It was only for a wood stove or a coal stove. So putting a coal stove in the basement, it's got a very high entrance into the chimney itself where the pipe would go in, the flue pipe, which tell me it'd probably be coal because of the amount of heat that a coal furnace would start. But there's remnants of old knob and tube wiring. That the house has been updated multiple times over the years. So I don't know if one core chimney in the center of the house with as small of a chimney cap that's coming through would be enough to heat that house. So I think there might have been, and we're all assuming that the chimney that's in the front of the house that's surrounded by the porch, that was a newer chimney that was added. So I don't think, unless there's more fireplaces buried upstairs, then we would have needed, I agree, we would need to have a central heating area. And that may be where the flue is now for the burner that's there now. But again, without any maintenance or knowing what the interior of that chimney looks like, we definitely have to at least reline it. And that might be a possibility as well.
Mike, do you have any comments? Questions?
Couple of questions in terms of windows. What are you proposing, John, for the windows on the new addition?
Marvin wood simulated divided light, just an energy version. We talked briefly about putting storm windows over it. I think we probably would not put the storms over it. There's been discussion about repairing the existing windows in the front of the house and getting them to be a little bit more weather tight, getting them rebuilt in place, but saving all the sash and all the frame and all the windows themselves. So I think in the back, if we could do a wooden Marvin with a thin mutton bar, same exact window configuration, 2/2, with wooden exterior trim that would match the original. Possibly think about, I'd have to do a study on it, but maybe a little bit smaller trim on the back L than there would be on the main house. Again, just to detract from it competing with the front of the house. So if there's a 1x6 or a 1x8 on the front for window trim, I do a 1x5 or something that is larger than a 1x4, or maybe just a smaller cove molding that surrounds it, or a different pediment that it looks like it's a little bit different. And so it's not so matchy across the whole side of the house. That'd be my goal.
And then any other windows, there's no proposed window replacement on the main body of the house. If anything, it's repairing what's there.
Our intent would be to repair what's there. That was the last discussion I had. We've had success with that in the past. And if you couple that with a good quality storm window installed correctly, you can get some value out of that. I'm doing some research now on installing the jam liners and taking out the window weight situation. Only because I want to try and remove the lead paint. The client has a brand new baby, and I want to try and remove that lead paint window stop detail and replace that with new. And if I'm going to do that, it gives me the opportunity to either repair the window weights if I'm pulling that stop off anyway, and then install jam liners and get a good tight fit on those existing sashes, and then just reputty, reglaze, and repaint, and then that's it. You're done with it.
Okay. And all, anything new that you're touching, any new materials, anything on the addition or repair is all wood, I assume?
It would be, but anything lower elevation, I use a riser step or any column base. I think I would probably try and do in a non-phenolic or if we're doing a plastic column base, I think they come in fiberglass. If I'm not mistaken, I think those are acceptable, but all the window trim and door trim and overhangs would all be wood, yes.
Good. Go ahead.
Tracy?
Yeah.
Hi, another thing we talked about, the site visit, was the bay window at the very back on the left side, projects out away from the house and has a much more modern look than the rest of the house. Doesn't sort of go with anything else. Has there been any new thinking about that window?
I think that was decided to take it out.
It was gone.
And isn't that what's shown on the left side elevation here, this on the screen?
Yeah,
Right, so what would the new one look like? What,
this.
oh,
Yeah, so that'd be
a
a
non-bay.
triple gap.
non-bay through triple window, okay.
Yep. So I think that would be a triple there. I did a bunch of research. Admittedly, some of it was even Google image research, but I did see a lot of doubles on Italian 8s. I wasn't sure, and I wanted to make sure. But I did see about 30% of the information that I could gather over the last few days. Double windows were not uncommon in this style house. Again, the overhangs on this are very, very moderate compared to some of the examples I've been studying.
Mhm.
There's not one single bracketry, and usually that's the heaviest kind of detail is at the roof line, where yes, it does have that curved roof line. So I'm guessing that when they did this, when they built this house, they were trying to either had just traveled back from Europe or had come here from Europe or had relatives or some such, that they were trying to bring some European flair, but they just didn't go heavy on the bracketry or heavy on some of the details. I did find the round window. That is a fairly common detail, but most of the windows in Italian 8s, they're arched. Even the singles or doubles are arched. So this is really a very subdued version of what is usually a very fancy design. And I think, keeping it like that, because it is so subdued and it's kind of on that street and it's kind of on a hill, I don't think that's the wrong thing to do. But adding some detail to it wouldn't be, to me, window or trim detail or something, but I'd have to do some studies on that and do some samples. But I think just leaving it the way it is and kind of doing a copycat on the back would be fine. But I'll take any suggestions the board has on that.
Well, the tower is a stairway, right?
Correct, yes.
And what's at the top? Sort of an observation room of some sort?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's what leads me to believe that whoever built this had some travels, because it's not a widow walk. There's no ocean view.
Yeah.
And it is a curved staircase all the way up. It's quite elegant. It's quite beautiful, but there's not even a bench. I don't think that the square foot area up there is over 6 by 6 after you take a big chunk of the stairway out. So I think it was just strictly there as a nod. I mean, it's not like a book nook, or, there's no benches up there. There's no beds, or there's really nothing. I think it was just someone had it, that this is what they wanted, and they came to Hingham and they built it in 1865. And my hat's off to them, because I mean, they were cutting edge at that point.
And the roof material is what? Is it asphalt?
It is. It's a rolled asphalt product. Does need to be repaired. I think we were contemplating using a black rubber product. I don't know if there's any of the elevations that you can see. So it would definitely have to be either a bitchetane or a rubber roof or rolled asphalt. And honestly, I haven't even seen rolled asphalt for sale in 30 years. So I think rubber is not even an economical, but it's kind of the only real go-to at this point.
Well, evidently, for all the winters since 1865, it's managed to not have the snow fall through, like the Lincoln building in the center.
Yeah, that type of lap siding, you'd get almost 33 inches of asphalt in a row before you had the next joint. So there's very few joints, and that's why it's very non-susceptible to leaking. But once the granules disappear off the top, and my guess would be is that storm that we had where everybody had 4 feet of snow on their roofs, and everybody went up there with hatchets and guys were driving around. That didn't help a lot of roofs, I'll tell you right now. So whatever granules were left up there are probably, from I spent maybe 10 minutes up there. I don't think it's got much more than a couple of years, if that, left in it. And with the renovations to it, trying to sew the rubber into that, I just don't know if that would even be feasible.
Okay. Want to keep things moving here. Are there any other comments? I've heard maybe some slight tweaks to the side elevation and a little more study on the what side is it? The north side with the chimney and the 2 double doors there. I haven't heard any issues with the simulated divided lights in the addition. And you've mentioned the black rubber roof in both meetings. Andrew, is there a way to move this along, make a motion with those 2 provisos of the side elevation and those back doors?
Yeah, if everybody's good with that, that we could, is that something that you would want to have just submitted and I can circulate, or that portion of it, do you want to come back for an additional hearing?
Well,
One additional.
I think, right, and we wanted to see a little bit more about the left side treatment of that door, and the right side elevation. That's a fairly significant change. The chimney being brought into the body of the house and really depicting what those doors would look like. I think it warrants another round of drawings.
So in terms of moving this along, Mr. Chairman, what are your thoughts?
John, what would help, allowing for demolition of existing and some foundation work, or?
I think that would be, if the board could see that avenue, I think that would be greatly appreciated, just to even moving along to give Alan directions. I know he's sad not to be here tonight, and he may have an answer that I'm not quite thinking of right now. I know we discussed fixing those 2 areas. I sense there's still some work to be done there. I don't want to speak out of turn and not confer with the clients, but I think both of those issues are easily solvable. Again, the client is really trying to keep the house as it is. Obviously there's an L that's coming off and there's a new one going on, but the L that's coming off is in such total disrepair. It just wouldn't be financially sound to try and rebuild it. So
It does seem like a demolition is possible.
yeah, I think the footprint increase is minimal. So I mean, I think if we could get just, I think we would be happy with the outline or the acceptability of the rough general design, so that we could have Alan supply those two areas and let him take time to do a study and get some drawings back with some options. That if we could just get the general size and scope of the project and the footprint through, that would allow us to get to the town and get to the Board of Health and get the process moving. I think that would be hugely beneficial. And then circle back to those two while we give you some window samples and window cut sheets, some lighting cut sheets and things, anything else that the details that we can plug in. And if we have to do a quick meeting, in a month from now, then that would be something that we'd be certainly willing to, we'd be thrilled with that.
Okay,
Does anyone want to make a motion on to permit the demo and some excavation of the outline?
I'll take a crack at that motion. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 38 Faring Road for the demolition portion of the application. The area of demolition, I'm looking for a drawing reference that would be most appropriate.
maybe the site plan. Let me
A
see.
site plan might be the best.
Does that, John, you think that gives enough of an indication, or do we need a demolition plan?
I think the site plan would do, but I can get you a drawing. If we looked at the site plan, we're connecting arrow to arrow. So arrow 2.0 and arrow 6.7. So from there back, and then I think we could use the dotted shaded line as the new footprint.
And I
Okay.
think I do see the arrow 6.7 and
Yeah.
the arrow 2.0.
Correct.
So demolition, if we connect the line shown by arrow 2.0 connecting to arrow 6.7, my motion is to approve demolition of the structure and I'm looking for north-south on this. Is that to the west of that line we just described?
I'm also looking for a mark.
Right.
Yes, west, I believe, yes. I
It is
believe we're- I
west.
think we're- yeah.
Okay, yeah, I
this-
think so.
So the structure to the west of the line that I think we just successfully described, and I think that's the entire motion.
Anyone second?
Second.
Carol, how do you vote?
Aye.
Justin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Is Catherine on?
I am. I can see you, but I can't be seen, I guess. So yes, aye.
And that's an aye for me.
Okay, so we'll catch you back then next month, John.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for your time. I appreciate the energy that you guys are putting forth here. I really do.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
take care.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, apologize. We had some technical issues in the beginning, so we're already running a little late on a long night. I do want to note as we move forward, I'd like everyone to try to keep comments to what's on the application. So with that, we will move to 219 Main Street. And John, I don't know if you're presenting. I don't I haven't
Sean
seen
is,
Chris.
I think Sean is, has joined us. Sean,
Yes,
are
I'm
you
here also.
there?
I am Andrea. I'm here also, and I know
Okay,
John was
good.
going. John was
Sure.
probably going to speak first, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
okay,
Yeah.
my apologies.
Thank you, Ms. Young. I just wanted to make sure with the
Sure.
indulgence that Sean's here. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow commission members, and Ms. Young. My name for the record is Attorney John Danahy, and I represent both Jim and Mary Catherine Mamry with respect to their application before your board. I want to thank the board members who were able to come on Saturday to see and do a site visit to take a look at the now new proposed plan. I know Sean actually had handed those revisions, both of the site plan as well as the profile of the house for the board members to take a look at. We didn't have any questions answered because of the timing, I guess, and more or less for the forum here this evening tonight. I just wanted to just clarify for the record, because I did watch the hearing from July, and I just want to make sure that the board members and commission members understand that the Mamrys bought this project from Jim Magner. They did not alter or change anything that wasn't already pre-approved by not only this board, but also previous boards. And I know that there was a discussion about a plan from August of 2019. The Mamrys were not involved in changing or altering any plan. This was what was proposed and given and sold to the Mamrys. So I just want to make sure people understand that they are not doing any kind of sleight of hand here for the board members, just to clarify the record. Aside from that, I would like to turn it over to Sean at this point so that Sean can go over any questions from the observations from the commission members and address them. So Sean, if you could.
Sure. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Sean Papich for the record. Sean Papich Landscape Architecture, 222 North Street in Hingham, Massachusetts, as well as in the mobile office someplace in North Carolina right now. So if I break up, it's because of the reception. I apologize. I was
Sean,
hoping. Are you
Sean,
there? Yep.
is your daughter driving?
No, my wife is driving, so thank you.
All right,
Andrea,
okay.
thank you. Thank you for looking at my well-being. I need it. But the two of them are doing it pretty well too.
Good.
So I'll go over, since this was a continued hearing, I thought that, and to try to keep it a little bit more quick before we get to questions, that I would just discuss the changes from the original plan, because there were some points of discussion and we try to take those into consideration and make some revisions to the plan. And then the front elevation of the house and the proposed stone wall that we were talking about up by the house. So one of the things we did is we removed the larger front terrace, and is now a walkway, just a walkway to get to the door, both from the side, the driveway area, as well as from Main Street. So steps and walkway up from the Main Street sidewalk straight up to the front center entrance of the house.
Is there a picture of that, Sean? We're not getting any.
I think Andrea was going to share the
Yeah, let me just open that one up.
Those would have been the ones that we, those would be the ones that I shared on Saturday. This is where I'll pause.
Yeah, hang on just a minute.
Tell a few. Not sure if I should tell a few jokes right now.
Yeah, you can do that or sing,
Talk about
one
the
or the
weather.
other.
No, sing. You do not want me singing. I do anything but that. I can talk even, say, perhaps without the plan up.
Yeah.
And then we can go back and take a look at it too. One of the conversation points at the hearing, the first hearing, was the front entry terrace, feeling like it was a little too large for the house and the proximity to the to actual Main Street and the sidewalk. So that was pushed back. The wall was pushed back toward the house, but it was large, essentially a large enough space up top for a landing and a walkway, essentially. And we also have plantings up above. And when we get the drawings up, you will see the other elevation drawing we did, which is more of a sketch of the front of the house with the retaining wall there. The retaining wall itself starts at about 1 foot on the left, and when you're facing the house, it goes to right around 3 feet, 2.5 to 3 feet in height, which is because we pushed it back toward the house, we were able to pick up some height with the grade there and have a shorter stone wall, intending for it to be a New England field stone wall. The other
We
piece,
got that picture up, Sean.
okay,
We don't see it in.
We don't see it.
You don't see it?
We don't see it yet. And Sean, is the picture that we're going to be putting up, I imagine, the same drawing that was distributed at the site visit?
that's correct. That's correct. That's
This-
right, Justin.
Yep.
Yeah, so it is the elevation drawing as well as a change plan, the revised plan view. The other thing we did when we, before, I'll give you a little precursor then. The other thing we
Better.
did is, oh, there we go. There's the elevation drawing. So the elevation drawing is up now. Essentially what that shows is the existing, where the existing house is now, recently built house. What we're illustrating is the steps up, straight up from the Main Street sidewalk. And then you have a, thank you. And then you have a, the walkway, you don't really see, it's an elevation view. Landing in a walkway going off to the driveway. So that wall, because we could push it back, goes to about 2.5 to 3 feet in height on the right-hand side, which is where we have that larger grade drop off, as you know, when you're out on site, looked at that. It's been a point of contention. It'll recede itself back into the ground when it comes to the left-hand side of the house. We are proposing still some granite edging essentially to extend what is there. There's some existing granite edging on the adjacent property that had been there for a long, long time. We intended to extend some version of that to help maintain that grade right at the edge of the sidewalk. That was why it's there on the adjacent property. And it comes onto the property by, I would say, about 12 to 16 feet, I believe, onto our property. And we were going to extend that right to the set of steps going up. So from the elevation standpoint, that kind of describes the elevation, I should say. There's planting and some lawn area above at the entry. The other change that we had made on the plan that is more notable is reducing the size of the auto court, the turnaround area. We believe that you still on Main Street should have an area to turn around up there. We did reduce the size of that. We still have granite accents. We are still proposing it to be an asphalt driveway, which would be the same as pretty much all of those. Most of them in the historic district, to be honest, and it's what is typically expected. Granite cobble accents as edging as well as an entry. And the antique granite post we talked about as you come in, that'll have some planting adjacent to and a hedge adjacent to the auto court.
All right,
One
can
of the
you
oth-
see, I'm sorry, Sean, can you
Yeah, sure.
see the
Definitely.
plan?
Yep, we can see the plan.
Okay, good.
We can see it. Thank you.
Is there a railing going up the front steps?
What was that again?
Are you having a
Railing,
railing?
we would technically would have to have a railing on that second set of steps. There's 4 risers there. We would be required to have a railing. While you've got a way to get in from the side, the town would probably require us to have a railing there. If we do that, that would just be very simple black wrought iron, flat bar stock, like would be very typical in the area.
Sean, could I ask something?
Yes,
Back to the front area again.
sure.
Could you tell me, I've seen the little, like broken up granite wall that looks like it's been there for a million years. And
Sure.
it sort of stops at the left, line up with the left corner of the house.
Yes, yes.
And then disappears. So you're going to add height to that? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Oh,
no, not really. I think there wouldn't be much on that, although there may have to be a little bit, and it varies in height as it goes from
Right.
toward the downhill toward lower Main Street. So it gets a little bit taller. So we may need to augment that a little bit and try to still keep it at about the height it is right around the corner of the property.
And do you think you
we've
could
got-
get chunks of stone that look about like what's there now? You wouldn't.
Yeah, I
put
think that's what,
capstone
that's
on there.
yeah, it's exactly what we try to do. We could either call it granite chunk or granite slab or granite. It's kind of a unique piece of stone, right? So we would look for something to match, and that's what we would go for.
That
And
would be
is that the extended granite curbing?
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct. Yeah.
And then could you give me a sense of the distance between that wall we were just talking about and the wall that the retaining wall that you'd like to put in? Is that
Yeah, I'll
like
give you
maybe
that. That's
12 feet?
essentially, yeah, let me tell you, it's about 16 feet. Right
At
around
the
16
largest?
feet. Yeah, at the largest point, it goes to about, call it 13 to 14 feet at the
Okay,
shortest point, yeah, where it starts to curve back with the sidewalk, the existing
Okay.
side.
and then from the retaining wall
Yeah.
up to the house itself,
Yeah,
that looks
so
to me like maybe 10 feet, 8, 9 or 10 feet?
inside, yeah, inside of that's about 11 and a half to 12 feet. Essentially enough to, we have to have a fairly deep landing at the door with 2 risers down and then a landing to drop onto before we continue on. And that's in essentially the width of a walkway going toward the driveway.
And what's inside that has been changed now. It will be partly grass and plantings and
Correct,
then a walkway on one side of it, but not the other side?
correct. That would just be lawn and plantings.
Okay,
So if you're facing the house to the right, it would be lawn and plantings.
gotcha.
Walkway going to the driveway, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
And that whole area inside the retaining wall sits down. So-
Essentially sits at the same grade as the retaining wall, maybe a
Oh.
few inches lower. So the wall's not gonna extend above the grade. The wall's purely there to retain that grade.
I got you.
So it'll sit 3 risers down from the finished floor. Reason why we have to go down 3 risers, we really got to get below the foundation, top
Right.
of foundation.
Right.
And it's pretty standard to do that at almost any house. Not every house, but most houses. Yeah. So the way, that's the way.
It's hard to tell from the image, you know, looking at one dimension, but
Sure,
yeah, okay.
sure, yep. To change then, I guess we was going back to the reduction to the auto court kind of driveway turnaround area. We mapped out some existing trees you can see along the property line. Yeah, thank you. Doing a great job on that, following me along. And so we tightened up that little parking area, turnaround. It's more for turnaround than anything. We tightened that up and retained the tree that is on the corner, on that back corner, kind of call it the front corner. Yeah, thank you, right there. And so that's where the property line scoots back and you get this funny kind of expanded right of way to the street that the house is adjacent to. So it kind of peels back in. The ownership drops back away from the sidewalk by, say, 18, 20 feet, about 20 feet to that one corner, kind of a funny corner, right by the parking area. So we were proposing that we wanted to talk to the town about getting another street tree in there to help kind of run interference and add some scale to the area. And that area and the property is also going to be planted. Rear areas, we didn't, there was some discussion about the area above the old large retaining wall and why we didn't show much up, and not even that, even the one that's existing, the large fieldstone one that's there, large granite one. We're not proposing work. The one, even the large, more rectangle shaped one that's up there, yeah, that existing one. So we did not intend to do any work above there. Realize that long-term, the memories are gonna have to maintain that property and maintain those trees. But we aren't proposing any work. There was a question as to why we didn't show it. It's because we're not showing any work there. We're not planning on propose to do any work. If anything, we were gonna take some of the site boulders and use those as retainage right behind the garage and maybe add some shrubs just on top of the boulders, right at the back of it. Tuck them into whatever the trees we have there. So that's all. Planting along the side of the auto court is also what we are intending. Which is,
I wonder if we could go back to,
adjacent to the. What's that again?
I wondered if we could go back to the turnaround area, which
Yep.
appears on paper to be space for another car, but I know it isn't. Could that be minimalized any more than you've got it?
But before we get into comments
No,
on
you know,
the
the thing I'm
design,
really,
I'd like Sean to just finish the presentation and then we'll
Oh,
see.
I'm
if
sorry. I thought he was.
others
I'll do that. Okay, I want to do that. In the rear area, there was some discussion about it, but very little discussion of it when we had the first hearing area behind the house. We were intending to do stone terrace, a low 18 to 21 inch tall seat wall, which would be typical in a fire pit, in a pergola. We had shown photos of imagery of that when we had the last hearing. We haven't made any changes to that. We're, in my opinion, that's still behind the house. It's not that visible. Don't know if it's within the purview. You'll have to explain that to me if you think it is. The other little garden space to the right and the terrace off of the kind of side of the house, all out of stone, intended to be just for seating areas. Not sure how heavy that is influencing anything when it comes to view from the public right of way, flat surface of stone. I'm not sure if that's even an issue. So
What's the thinking on this water feature?
oh, there was some intent to perhaps do a small little urn or a small little urn that bubbles into a water feature, essentially a little garden structure. That's really just a garden feature. It could be any number of things, but it's something we had on the plan. So we showed it to you. Similar to maybe one we've done over on Middle Street. It's a few feet tall. You know, it's more of anything, just a garden ornament. I'm not sure if that's anything that would fall under purview in this case from a technical standpoint. So that summarizes, I know there'll be some comments, some other questions, but that summarizes most of anything we addressed and changed from the last hearing.
Okay. Are there
I just
any?
asked one,
Go ahead, Mike.
just one question for clarity on that right side, just finishing as you're going down that side. Are those air conditioning compressors on the side there?
That's correct. Air conditioning condensers there. We're going to plant to the edges of those, we can plant out in front of those. We haven't really finalized all of our planting design. We're needing to get through all of the hardscape approvals before we finalize all the planting design, but we've illustrated some shrubs there, but there are 3 condensers along that wall.
Mhm.
Any other clarifying questions?
Yes, please. Catherine here. Hi, Sean. 2 quick questions. I'm wondering if there had been any other studies done other than the retaining wall idea for the front stairwell. And
Can we come back to that though? I want to.
oh, are you, sorry, I thought he was.
Yeah,
done
I just,
presenting.
if there are any questions with what has been presented
Right,
versus.
this is still the
design.
presentation phase.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought we had finished with that.
No, I want to ask if there are any abutters who would like to ask a question or make a comment.
Hello, Mark Fabro. My wife Deirdre Fitzgerald Fabro and I, we live at 221 Main Street in the WB Lucy house, 1902 house next door to the left of this image. I expressed some concerns at the meeting in July, and fortunately, since that meeting, Sean Papich and I were able to meet in front of 221 Main and 219 Main and just talk through the plan as it was presented in July and some of the concerns that that I expressed. Sean touched on tonight the slope, and I know that I've mentioned this over the last 2 years. That entire slope, because that is the property of 219, we have concern given that you know, our 118-year-old foundation is a few feet away from the top of the line, as is our entire septic system. So there's a lot that matters in terms of that slope, not only the retaining wall, but the trees and the cover that's there is maintained and preserved. And thankfully, Sean has given sort of his perspective, which is very promising. And, you know, I've seen in other documents, preservation area listed by Morse when they did their site plan. So that issue, we feel much better about. As well, Sean and I discussed just to the area left of the garage, the original plan had some plantings that extended into the streetscape of 221. And this plan shows a more natural transition of the shrubs and the plantings to the left of the garage that really align with the topography of the front yard of both 221 and what will be 219's front. So in both cases, those concerns, were addressed both in this plan as it's shown and also in conversation with Sean Papich. And I recognize that the commission will discuss this a little further and there may be other comments, but ultimately if it's approved, I would encourage the commission to consider conditions as part of the process that the landscaping be executed according to this plan as shown tonight, and that upon completion of the project, there is a review against the approved plan as well. We'd appreciate those conditions being considered. And those are my comments. Thank you to the entire commission for the work you do and for providing this forum to people like us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other abutters? All right, Carol and Catherine.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, thank you, Carol. So my question, Sean, was just regarding the front retaining wall. And I'm wondering if there are any other ideas that you guys considered for that. I think one of my thoughts is that because the grade of the house is a little higher than we anticipated, the mass of it is of concern and we're just trying to reduce that. So I wondered if any other thought had been given to the front entry. And one of those possibilities might be having the access from the driveway not be on the retaining wall level, but be in front of the retaining wall. And I didn't know if that would then preclude even the need for the retaining wall. So just if you could talk to that a little bit, that would be great.
Yeah, then one of the things we did do is we certainly look at every sort of combination of resolutions when you're looking spatially how to handle a situation that you're kind of given. And right now, the situation is we've got about a little under 6 foot of grade change that we are trying to make up between the sidewalk and the finished floor of the house. And so we know that we have to come down about 1.75 feet. So we have to come down about 21 inches, 7-inch risers from the house to get below safely and by code below the top of foundation. But at that point, we're still substantially above the sidewalk. And so one of the things that we do think about with this is when we extend a stone retaining wall, a plinth essentially, one that's not large either, one that's about hip height or below, which is very common up and down Main Street and kind of all over the historic district. We did share some photos of some of those too at this site visit also on Saturday. In order to try to help hug the ground with the house itself, almost treat it like an extended foundation. This stone plinth is going to come out and really anchor the house to the ground. And I think in doing this, we did do what you're hoping to accomplish. I think this resolution actually does this much better than either taking a slope right up to the house and having almost no landing or a very small landing, or to only access off of the driveway and not off of Main Street. All of these houses have access off of Main Street, and it would be a shame to not have something straight up off of Main Street. Again, the house is going to be a foot tall on the left, or the wall is going to be a foot tall on the left and scarcely 3 feet tall on the right, and maybe not even that. It might be more like 2 feet 9 or something like that. So I truly think that this is the resolution that does anchor the house to the ground. It's exactly what I think you got. Not to be combative, of course.
I didn't hear that, so I guess I don't need to worry about that. So last,
You didn't hear anything?
I didn't hear that last sentence or
Yeah, you
two.
broke up for a
You
minute.
cut out, Sean.
Also, not to be a contrarian or anything like that, but I think this is exactly what you're asking for, to try to anchor the
Okay.
house to the ground, or, this is why we do it,
Okay, thank you so much for that. And then my last inquiry is, I see this very large apron of cobblestone Belgian blocks, almost like an apron leading up to the house.
Mhm.
And in your original plan, you can almost fit 2 cars in that segment there. I'm wondering if in the hopes of diminishing, asphalt and impermeable surfaces, that we could reduce that anymore, so that it wouldn't be 3 cars abreast there, but it would be 2 cars abreast right in front of the garage.
It may be possible to cut that down a little bit. We're just trying to be careful again with circulation in and around, vehicular circulation around to turn around and get out onto Main Street. In shortening up this kind of hammerhead piece that I did in this revision, it's still going to be a challenge to turn around in here. This isn't perfect by any stretch. So we had not proposed to remove that or reduce it. That's something we could consider. I'd have to talk to homeowners and see if they are interested in doing that. But
the depth of it is about how deep, how many feet from the grass to the driveway is that?
what was that again? What was the question again?
The cobbled pavers. How
Yeah,
deep is that approximately, and how long?
How wide is it, or how long is it?
Well, how long and how wide?
Okay, so you've got about 7 feet by about 30 is what it is right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also just want to point out for Sean's benefit is that, by slowing or reducing the size of the asphalt driveway and the turnaround, when you do have a guest or two, obviously they can't park on Main Street. It certainly affords more safer for people who are visiting, and or especially if the kids, as they have 4 children who are visiting, you're able to pull a car out of or motor vehicle out of the garage to be able to move without having cars moving constantly in and out of Main Street. So I just think, in this case, it's a safer way to at least have a little reservation area off to the side so those vehicles can move in and out.
We do try to enhance the appearance of it and the aesthetic of it by using a granite cobble, which would be a traditional material to use in any of these accents that we're using.
So Sean, you're saying it's cobble, so you could park on it?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
you could park or turn around on it. Either one.
It's actually marked as a parking area.
It's on the plan. It could be either way. Yeah, any other driveway you can park on. Correct.
What is the material along the right-hand side of the driveway?
Yes, that's a cobble. That's the granite cobble. Yeah, it's a parking
Oh,
accent,
okay.
turn around accent. Exactly. It's a flat surface. Yeah.
It looks like a lot of car space for a 1-bedroom house. 2 in the garage, 2 sitting there. You got the space over on the left, the turnaround space, which I think could be cut in half. And then 2 more over here on the cobbles and 2 behind, I don't know. Plus, we all parked on Main Street the day we were visiting. I didn't know you weren't supposed to, but.
I don't think you'd be allowed to. If you had somebody staying
Overnight.
overnight, like said, 4 kids and children, grandchildren, I don't think you'd be allowed to stay overnight on Main Street. I'm not going to try. I don't need a ticket.
But to your point, if you have 2 cars in the garage and then 2 on the side, or even 2 in front of the garage, and somebody in the garage needs to get out, those 2 cars or 1 car has to move around and go somewhere, while the other one either backs directly onto Main Street, which is not a safe way of pulling out if you're able to go into that reserve area, turn around. Nothing against my clients, but they're certainly getting in an elderly age, and it's a lot easier to be able to back up and move out than to try to back out directly onto Main Street.
Yeah, I think we all get that. And many of us are on Main Street, but we don't have big parking lots like this. That's bigger than the house. But I mean, visually looking, it's bigger than the house. I can see one small car width turn, back into it and come forward. So you're coming out onto Main Street forward. I don't get what all the cobblestones are for. It just looks like a huge area. It's a very small lot, very little grass space.
Oh, there's a lot of grass space in the back. You're just looking at this section with
Can't get the car back.
looking down. So if you take a look at the average, no, there's a lot of green space here, and certainly in the back and on the side that goes up the hill.
I think the concern is the density, how it's going to feel visually as you're going down the hill. So I'd love to hear from the other members too on their feelings on that cobble apron area.
Right, it is the streetscape that we're most concerned with.
There's very little green area around the streetscape.
And while we're on streetscape, when you drive down Main Street and this house appears on the left, right beyond it are two charming houses, Dr. Eldridge's house, the big white one, and the little cobbler's house in the back, Wheelwright's house, the stone, very unique. And I'm looking at something that looks to me like 13 proposed evergreen trees. Could that be changed to hedges or something that wouldn't cover up the view of those two houses?
Well, they're going to be to the side of the house. If you're coming down Main Street, they're back of the front face of the Mamrey's house. So I don't think those would block those when you're coming down Main Street. I don't think it would block them. I think the back of the house, the front face of the house.
Sean, why would you want trees there instead of a hedge of some kind?
I think the intent is to just get some screening along the side and rear of the property, the way that it's exposed on that side. I mean, that's one way to handle it.
An arborvitae or something that wouldn't, tree says to me it could be a maple, big.
No, we weren't intending to. No, we were intending to do evergreen trees and or shrubs. It could be any combination thereof. Usually at this point, we haven't finalized every plant selection when we're working on a project that comes before you. We're usually focusing more heavily on the hardscape treatment. Usually the final planting plan is not your purview.
Right.
Usually what it is we would certainly give you a feel for where we're moving with it. So there'll be some evergreen trees. There would likely be some shrubs, but we're just not there yet, and we aren't intended to be there yet
I hear
in
you.
going through it. But screening is the intent, is what it is. But we wouldn't have it, keeping those larger pieces to the back or to the sides.
No, but to your point, I think we could take a look at that because I'm looking at some photographs of it. And as you come down the street, certainly some form of shrubbery or some lower vegetation so that it doesn't cover up the cobblestone of the house that's right next to it. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
it's a unique structure.
Yeah.
May I, Mr. Chairman, may I just intervene here? I think, what Carol is asking, and we do have this in our guidelines, that we really don't want to obscure an historic property in any way. So I think that is the concern that Carol might be expressing here.
That's a good point.
And so, I would leave it to you to be able to manage that that view corridor so that as you're driving down, we're not missing the other two houses right next to the right.
Yeah, we'd be able to obviously take that into consideration when we're finalizing the planting plan.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's a fine line because coming down Main Street, once you get past the corner of the new house, you do want to see that, beautiful stone foundation of the house south. But coming up Main Street, you know, this house is sitting high. You've got some exposed foundation on that side. Mike pointed out there's 3 air conditioning units there. You know, there's actually some screening that you want from the other direction as well, that something lower might not really do. So it's the selection of those trees noted as proposed evergreen trees, I think is a important selection to be made.
And that's a good point, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at the, as we have in front of us where it says proposed evergreen trees, and that's kind of like towards the back end of the house. I think if we put some kind of green vegetation that's low, but not low enough, in other words, high enough to cover the traffic that's heading, I guess you could say southerly, but also then taper it up towards the back, that would make sense to kind of create a vegetative buffer, if you will.
I would agree.
Mr. Chairman, I think we may have another abutter. I think another abutter has joined us who might wish to speak at some point. So whenever you want to recognize.
But while we're on this particular point, I interrupt and suggest that the package isn't really complete until we have a view included in the package that would reflect the view of the hardscape application as you are traveling north on Main Street. So sort of the similar, the view of the house, and I think you're traveling north at that point, up along Main Street. So much like we have the front elevation, I think we need a view of the elevation that shows the side of the house.
So Justin, just for clarification, this is Sean again.
Yes.
Are you saying a view as you're coming down toward downtown?
As you're coming
you're
from downtown going up Pear Tree Hill, I think.
So it's just, it's
And
all
this
it is
side,
going to be
Sean.
the stone, all it is the stone wall that we're discussing.
Well,
There's no
that,
hardscape element.
yeah, that very well may be. I just want to, show that in the drawing. So presumably it will be uncontroversial. But for example, I'm thinking
It's right
some
this,
kind of assertion of what the water feature, how tall the water feature is, whether.
I don't even know if
think
that-
I understand that everything's sort of low to the ground, but want to have that in the package.
Yeah.
And showing what the
Alright.
porch would look like. And the front porch included.
You're
Front,
talking about the front
Here.
landing, the
Yeah.
landing itself, the stone landing.
yeah, just what
Yeah.
that would look like from the
Sort
side.
of a side view of the property.
Sean, what is this structure here?
Let me see, I'm trying to look at your,
The
I'm-
deck or something.
I don't see the
It's,
cursor that you've got there.
I'm
where-
sorry, it's my,
That's okay.
Actually,
it's an Ipe deck.
That's an
deck.
E-Pay deck. That's a porch that comes off that side of the house.
Okay, so I think that's something, to Justin's point, it would be helpful to know the height of that.
Is there a way into the house from that deck? Doesn't show on the,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah, those are steps. Yeah, that's why it's there, It's just a simple porch and steps down.
oh, okay.
It's an E-Pay porch and steps down.
I think
Wood.
to Justin's point, I think it's hard to visualize all this plantings and the deck and the terracing and whatnot, because if there's nothing there, it's totally wide open and there's never been anything there. So I do think, having a visual from the south going or from
I think
lower
that's from
Main,
the north looking more south.
yeah, would be really
From the north
useful.
looking south.
That gives us a sense of how,
I think it's
No,
from the
what's in-
south
what's in-
looking more north. If I,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin, from the south looking north. Because that whole area is totally exposed in the back, in the side, those windows, the air conditioners, everything is exposed out there right now. So it's hard to visualize it with plantings and whatnot.
Okay. All right.
The one thing also that I don't think the board has discussed is the, on the plan, it says bluestone, let me see, there's, in some places, it looks like there's a choice of bluestone or granite.
Correct.
And so I have a thought on that, but this is, I'm not.
You're talking about in terms of the selection of the material itself,
That's
the
correct.
decision on it. Typically, you will, bluestone or granite has been approved. Felt that that would be enough to be all right with what the homeowner wants, either a bluestone or a granite versus a concrete paver or something like that.
I
So,
think what I'm saying is that one has a more formal appearance than the other does. So that's what I just wanted to point out for the board. And if they have a comment, fine. If not,
yeah, I mean, if you got a comment on whether or not bluestone or granite feels more formal, it might also be the finish that's used on it, the finish and the size of the pavers, what have you. So certainly, I'd love to hear if somebody has some comments on what they think the material should be. I think most folks like to see the bluestone because it's a little bit warmer in its tones, but the granite tends to be a little bit stronger, brighter, typically, unless we're using an old antique gray granite or something like that. It's a very specialty material, though.
I would say that new granite often looks quite modern, and that the bluestone would be a more soft and traditional look.
May I address the board?
Sure.
yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Paul Healy. I live at 209 Main Street. And I'd just like to comment that in my view, having lived here over a half a century, all portions of this property are observable from the street. And the granite wall behind where the Mammaries proposed to build this house is a beautiful structure. And it hasn't moved a whit in a half a century. And to the extent that there's stonework contemplated on this site, to me, it would be a real nice way to integrate what's being considered here with what already exists. And I don't know how difficult that would be for the applicant to accomplish. The other comment with respect to Mr. Dennehy, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, sir. I do see Guest Park on the street. I concede and acknowledge that having built this property on a curve, on a hill with an 8% slope does present certain challenges. But my reaction to the landscape designer's proposed plan is that much of this site, which was previously a tree grove, has now become an impervious surface. And to Mr. Aborn's point and the other member of the commission, I don't think we're seeing really the full scope of what this looks like. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but I think we're kind of being channeled into a certain part of it. And the side between the stone cottage, has a number of different terraces and the like. And the green space seems to have completely disappeared on the site. And I just think sometimes less is more. And perhaps this might be a bit more tasteful with a little less granite, but I defer to the commission on that. The only other thing I'd add, and it's with appreciation to the design to extend the granite wall along the sidewalk. But one of the things I've noticed is that in the winter, there's breakout onto the sidewalk from the existing stone walls in front of 215 Main Street. So to the extent you contemplate doing this, I'd recommend some kind of drainage to channel it within your property so it doesn't break out onto the sidewalk. This is a very, very heavily traveled pedestrian sidewalk. Hundreds of people literally walk this street every day, all year long. So clearly that would be something you'd want to avoid, hopefully.
And Mr. Healy, that's sort of directing water. You're imagining ice on the sidewalk. Is that it?
That's precisely what happens right by the driveway at 215 Main Street. It comes out of 217 off of the hill. Mr. Bedford spoke to this issue tangentially a couple of meetings ago. And it occurred to me that that is something that I've encountered routinely over the years. Now, I'm not saying they should fix 217. That's not their problem. But I'm just asking that they not add to it. That's all. And I don't know if Mr. Pappage considered that when he was discussing his design, but that would certainly be a good neighborly thing to do.
We would always consider drainage on site, manage water on site
Great.
in every condition.
Very, very good. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I'm going to go to my meeting now.
Thank you. Okay, I think we should move on. What I'm hearing is we'd like to see, I'm gonna call it the north elevation. It's the side here. It's the low side. So an elevation from, no, you're on the high side there.
I'm on the high side?
When I'm looking at his title block, north is pointing right to the 217 house.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The
Right,
house,
so-
the cottage, the stone cottage, that's the side.
Yeah,
The view
so
you want.
north elevation. If there's a way to look at the amount of impervious cover of the site, specifically at the driveway.
And if there's any openness to perhaps even that being gravel, that would be welcome. I don't know what kinds of responses Mr. Pappage might contemplate. But
Actually,
I'd
that
like to
was,
address that if I could.
if
and
I
let's
can
just-
just speak, it was a condition in our approval in the, and it appears, gravel driveway appears in the certificate that we issued for this project.
So, Mr. Young, I had requested in my letter last week that I could get a copy of the actual plan that was referenced in that certificate of approval. Does the Historic Commission have an actual plan that was approved so that we can reference that?
Sure.
Okay, that would be very helpful.
Were we going to put that on our site so we could all see it? I wasn't even on the commission at the time. I'd love to see that.
Sure.
And do we have the minutes from that meeting? Because I'd like to know what was the basis for a gravel driveway. We live in New England when you have snow. You know, this isn't like the rural areas. And I've yet to see a gravel driveway going up and down Main Street in Hingham. And I'm just trying to get a sense of people when it's driving, you know, when it's snowing and plowing and trying to clear your driveway. What's the basis for a gravel driveway at this point? Now, I understand that's on the condition. I want to see it, and I appreciate that. I think it's fair. I just kind of scratch my head going, you know, you snow blow it, you plow it, stones are going to go all over the place. Just kind of curious. If maybe Ms. Young, you and I can have a discussion next week, that would be helpful.
Sure. Let me
Thank you.
just make a comment that I mentioned this to Sean. What the commission envisioned was a very, very simple house. And the stone driveway was part of that. So that's all I can say right now.
I wonder if we could have the plan in front of us at the next meeting?
Sure.
That would be very helpful.
And then if there's any additional thoughts on the granite versus bluestone and taking into account maybe what Mr. Healy had said, And if
Just so
there's
I'm
any-
clear, what exactly, Mr. Healy, mentioned about the drainage, which obviously we can't pour water onto the street. It has to go, the
Right.
law of land, of water is it has to go naturally and flow the right way. We can't put it
There was a
directly.
question, because this talks about, this site plan says bluestone or granite.
Yeah. Got that?
Catherine noted kind of a personal preference for bluestone. Mr. Healy noted that there's an existing granite retaining wall and that, you know, maybe there's a nod to that historical feature on the site with, you know, how stone's used elsewhere. You know,
I just
and
wanted
maybe
to find
that's
out, you mentioned the retaining wall, and my understanding is that's a stone wall, but I'll confirm that for the board. I'll take pictures of it.
It is, it's all granite retaining wall that has been there for obviously a very, very long time.
About 100 years, actually.
And we
Just a
will,
little
we will
over.
consider, yeah, we'll consider in terms of the materials that we're using, we'll consider the materials on the proposed walls that we're considering for the front of the house also.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm saying either way, one has granite or one has to be bluestone. I'm just saying
Certainly,
there
certainly.
were a few instances such as these proposed evergreen trees, such as the granite versus bluestone. If there was just you know, we have a short conversation on some of those, knowing that you make final selections closer to install.
Correct.
I have one last thing, Mr. Chairman, if it's all right. We're talking about that existing retaining wall along the sidewalk in the front. And there was, I thought, some indication that you would be extending it and also increasing what is existing there. Sean, is that right?
So the one thought is at the corner, where the corner of the property line is, right at that property corner, where our grade is going to start blending down from the house. We may take some of that element and rebuild it and gradually rise it up. It's a little bit taller there than it is further uphill. We're going to maintain a height there that's still going to be a little taller than at its lowest spot, right? It's only, so we will probably rework some of that lower corner and bring it in and blend it into the grade and have it match a little higher up at the sidewalk or the walkway at the front door.
Okay. I'd love to see kind of more specifics on that too, because I would hate for the old historic wall to be sacrificed for to just add symmetry to the lot, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at, and to preserve it in the most sensitive way
Correct.
possible. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Thank you,
John,
Donnie.
that's okay. Good. I just want to make sure we have everything. So we'll be happy to put that together and get it to you folks. Is it possible to be on the next meeting? I'm not sure what your agenda or what your scheduling is.
It would be September. And Mr. Chairman, to that point, we would either need, we could take a vote on this tonight, or we could ask for, if the attorney Dennehy wants to provide an extension for another 60 days. Not that it would take that long, but we're running up against our deadline.
Do you know when the deadline is, Andrea?
Yeah, I mean, the original plan was submitted on 7/6. And the next hearing is 9/16. So from the receipt of the plan.
So,
The 16th, that's still within the period, is it not?
no, it's like 10 days out.
No, I don't think so. It's 7/6 to 8/6 and then to 9/6. And we're not meeting until the 16th of September.
So could we extend at least 30 days? Let's get to the 16th and go through that. I think that would be.
Yeah, we
good.
can do that. That's
How
fine.
about that?
All right, I'll get the document prepared.
Now, if I may just interject, because I know you got a busy schedule. Ms. Young, is it something I can sign electronically, or is it something that you need me to sign?
I think you can sign it electronically.
Okay, I'm
Make it
actually like
easy.
Sean, I'm down in South Carolina trying to drop my daughter off at school.
Oh, okay.
So I appreciate your indulgences because I'm listening to music outside the hotel window and it's driving me insane. Hopefully you're not hearing all that. But I'll sign that electronically. If you need me, to, I
Sure.
won't come in. I'll sign it officially too.
That's great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Again, Mr. Chairman, fellow commission members, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sean.
Thank you. I'm still gonna hang around for another hearing.
Okie dokie. Oh, that's right.
Right.
You've got the next one.
You know how much I love this.
Yeah. Okay,
Next.
so
392 Main Street, and I thought I saw.
let's see. We have Chris Hall
Chris, yeah,
I'm here.
that's from another hotel room. Everyone's
And
in hotel
Bryce.
rooms.
Nice. Hopefully they serve drinks in these hotel rooms. Did I say that on a recorded,
Yeah, you did.
oops.
Let me just get this open, please.
Andrea, is it okay if Bryce shares his
Oh,
screen?
yes, I'd be delighted. Go,
All right.
Bryce.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. My name's Christopher Hall. I'm the architect for this project. I am here accompanied by my two associates, Bryce Roberts and Eva Leong. I also believe we have the entire Giannaro's family on one of these Hollywood squares, together with several neighbors. Just a little bit of background. I'm sure most people know about this house. The existing house was built in 1861. It went through several renovations, most significant of which was most likely in 2014, which was a very large renovation that included the addition of a two-car garage. Bryce, we are waiting.
We're not seeing the screen yet.
Yeah, it's going to load. It's a big.
You guys don't have the screen?
No, we can't see it.
You see it now?
Not yet. There we go.
There we go.
There we
Okay.
go. Okay.
All right, you good now? All right.
Yeah, we good. This house experienced a fire on December 15th, 2020. The house was a total loss. It received a certificate of hardship from the HDC back in April, on April 29th. Outside, actually, as you drive by, which I'm sure you've done a million times, at this point, doesn't nearly look as bad as the inside. The inside is completely destroyed and very sad. I was hired 4 months ago to design a house for the Giannaro's family. I was asked to design a house that retained the character of the 1861 house, which they loved, and at the same time address some of the issues that that house had in designing a house that would fit a little more comfortably on the site and took a little better advantage of the beautiful lot. I was fortunate to present the project informally on July 15th to the board and received some great feedback, majority of which we've addressed and responded to. So I'd like to go through our drawing set in its entirety. I'll move through quickly. This is the existing site plan. It shows you that the house is justified to the eastern property line. Actually, it's 1 foot 4 inches away from the church house property line that it shares. The next pictures just show it again. It's proximity to the church house. That's a telephone pole in the middle. That's not two different pictures. Very close. Kind of an awkward juxtaposition, which is just the nature of how it evolved. The new house we're proposing, and here's a sort of a locus drawing showing you the proximity of the houses to Main Street up and down, including 392 Main Street right there. The new house we're proposing is a little bit of a hybrid in that it is intended to reference quite strongly the 1861 house with a main projecting gable and porch, semi-wraparound porch. It is located obviously more centrally to the lot. The pink or red that you see is an outline of the existing house, and then the dark lines represent the proposed residence. I think this drawing starts to show the idea that the original house had a strong north-south axis, and this house has an east-west axis with a projection of the main gable towards the street to allow for that prominent feature to still exist. From overall Google Map site plan, we just sort of superimposed our model, our 3D model onto it. So you can see the house with the different shades of roof, which depict different materials and how it sits on the site. The floor plans I'll go through quickly. It's a 5-bedroom house. On the first floor plan, the front door addresses Main Street. The front gable, there's a library, dining room, and then you turn and come into the main portion of the house, which takes advantage of just a wonderful backyard, which they really didn't experience all that much with their existing house. So that's sort of one of the benefits, I suppose, of the new residence and what's happened. There is a family room, dining room, kitchen, pantry, and then a connection back staircase to a 2-car garage. Some board members may recall that we originally had a 3-car side-loaded garage / barn. After our meeting, we really felt like that pushed the house way far to the west. The sunsets and the side yard where the kids play is a huge component, was a huge component of their previous house and is a huge component of the proposed house. And we got too close on the west side, the left side. So pulling it back, it also meant that we would need significant, long, tall, and expensive retaining walls on the east side to the church house, to the Wilsons. So we moved it back over and have a 2-car garage now facing front and a small 3rd-car bay with a sort of a tight radius in the back. The second floor plan just shows 4 bedrooms with an office over the barn. There's a roof plan which shows our pitches. We do change materials, which I'll get to when we get talking about materials. And the elevations can also talk about when we get to materials. The main center portion of the house is the referencing of the 1861 house. It exists. We can always pull up the existing drawing set. And you can see the front elevation, the back elevation, and then 2 side elevations. And then some images and perspectives. We have a bird's eye view of the proposed house from one angle and from another angle. And then from the standpoint of the materials, we did 2 extra drawings from our previous meeting to this meeting to show the board sort of an analysis of the exterior materials and how they've been used now to tell more of a story about what's going on with the house. We're proposing that the main house that references the 1861 house be white clapboard with asphalt roof, white trim, ornamental trim, with significant detailing at all the window head casings, which you can see in that section. And the lower pitched roof would have a metal roof, standing seam metal roof, white painted wood columns, and a fieldstone base around the entire house. The fieldstone base for the main porch is a huge reason why they love their old house, and it has remarkable stone, almost has sort of like iridescence to it. So we are hoping to, upon demolition, reuse as much of that stone as possible. It's a very unique stone, and obviously we'll be using New England fieldstone with it, but it's a wonderful, very, very beautiful stone that exists right now. The barn itself is purposely intended to depart from the materials, as are the connector of the main house. And I'm going over these materials quickly because I kind of want to get to I wouldn't call it a paradigm shift, but a thought process shift after our last meeting, sparked by some board members' comments. The barn is to be a charcoal gray color with vertical nickel gap 1x8. The trim for this is subdued. It's not as elaborate as a barn would be. There would be a black metal roof on the barn, which would also be over the small roof over the two barn doors, which are garage doors, cedar brackets. We're using all Marvin windows with a black painted sash, SDL, simulated divided light. And I'd like just to briefly talk, maybe not briefly, but I'll try to be brief, about the little bit of a shift that occurred from our previous meeting. We received a couple of comments which were basically dimensional. One board member said that they thought that the house was set too far back from the street and that the majority of houses along the street were a little bit closer. We moved the house up 20 feet. So the existing house had 52. We had 101, now we're at 81 feet back from the street, which does put it in the ballpark of neighboring houses. Another comment dimensionally was that the front of the barn was a little bit too close to the face of the gable of the main house. We pushed it back 15 feet to give some differentiation and some subordinacy. I'm not sure that's a word. Have the barn be subordinate, a little more subordinate to the main gable. And then the remaining comments had to do with exterior massing and materials. And there were a couple of comments that I think together resonated with me, I must say, in an interesting way. I thought about, there was one comment that said, oh, well, even though the existing house doesn't have a lot of detail, it had more detail than the house I previously showed. And one board member said, it looks sort of like a transitional farmhouse or contemporary farmhouse. And it doesn't, it could use a little breaking up, and it seems kind of big. And, it struck me that that's not what I wanted. To me, these houses that are in a historic district, the ones, they tell a story. They tell a story of the passage of time. They tell a story of functionality. None of these houses are flies, caught in amber. They morph and they change as people use them. And so I went back to the design. I didn't really change the floor plan or anything, but I thought about differentiation and having the main house be more of a true Greek revival house. Add ornamentation to it so that the main gable coming towards you and its perpendicular symmetrical wings had significant ornamentation that was different from the rest of the house. This would lend someone to believe that that was an original house which was built, and then it had additions over time, ultimately connecting a barn. That's why the addition to the right turns to shingle instead of clapboard. Even though we're not sure we want to change it a different color, I think just the mere existence of thousands of vertical lines between the shingles will change the shade of the white. We simplified the trim on both of the wings so that it would appear that there was once quite a formal house that then had additions that were a little less formal to it. And it really to me started to tell a story. Now I know this house hopefully will all be built soon, and in this at one time. But if it can have a palette of materials and a change of forms, Bryce, if you go back to that front elevation again, I forgot one thing. One board member said, we had all of the roof ridge lines lining up along the back, and a board member said, can you think about breaking that down? I didn't feel comfortable breaking down the main 1861 referencing gable to its immediately adjoining gables, but I did feel very comfortable breaking down those after that, and that's the massing where the material changes. We had an all metal roof before. It seemed strong. It seemed, I don't know about industrial, but I'm not a big asphalt roof fan, but it really seemed like having a black asphalt roof on the main house and these wings would work well with a standing seam metal roof for the lower pitches. Certainly functionally, that's something that would have been done from a waterproofing standpoint back in the day. And it seemed also to add to the palette of materials. We did reduce the size of the driveway, which Sean can talk to a little bit later, as well as some screening. But in closing, the design process for this house has been intense, and it's been very thoughtful and at times emotional. It's been emotional because of the tragedy, but it's also emotional because of the urgent need for this family to move on. They need to move on to a new home. It's going to take a year to build this house. So myself and my team, we've been working around the clock to get to this point. We're really happy where we are right now. And they're ready to have this be the stage that they can live the next phase of their life out. And that phase, unfortunately, includes also a time crunch. They have a daughter going to college in 2 years. So it's going to take a year to build this house. If we started this fall, that means she would have 1 year in the house with the family. So the goal is that she would have a year where they would all be together. And that after that, they could spend decades, creating new memories. So with that, I want to thank the board very much for your time and consideration, and happy to respond to any questions you might have.
Well, I was one of those who felt that the barn was overwhelming the house. It almost looked like a barn with a house attached to it. And I appreciate what you've done, and I like it very, very much now. I think it's a very good design.
Thank you.
Real quick, Chris, I know Sean's on the phone. I don't know, is this the driveway that's presented, or is that going to come in a landscaping package later? Because I have a feeling there's going to be comments on the driveway.
So we, to the best of our ability, we implemented Sean's plan on this model, and Bryce can fly around it. Keeping in mind that there are some limits to what our model can do from a landscaping standpoint. You know, they're not the exact, you know, bushes and the exact size, but yes, we have the exact driveway configuration, pathway to the front door, pathway to the back door.
So the driveway, this layout is part of this application.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. If there's no more clarifying questions, I'll ask if there's any neighbors or abutters who would like to speak.
Mr. Chairman, I did receive a letter via email from Michelle, I think it's Rosendahl. And they were very much in support. Oh, they live on 8 Thompson Ave, which is across the street. And so they're very supportive of the new design.
This is David and Amy Wilson. We live at 386. We also echo that support.
We're the neighbors directly next to them.
Yeah, we've had an opportunity to look at the plans. Our neighbors have been very forthright and very collaborative. So we would like for them to be able to get on with their lives.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, this is Nate Amendola. I actually live a couple doors down from, and actually we're on in a little bit, but we live on Middle Street, a couple doors down from the Giannaros. Spiros and I have become friends. We actually lived on Main Street, a couple houses up from him not too long ago. He showed me the plans. They look beautiful. It's a great family. I'd love for them to get on with their life and enjoy new memories. I'm fully in support of this. It's going to make Main Street look even better. I hope you guys approve it.
Thank you.
Hi, we're Matt and Andrea Borowicki. We live at 414 Main Street, 2 houses down from the Giannaroses. We are fully in support of their new design and plan. We love it, and we think it would be a great addition to Hingham and Main Street.
We think it's incredibly thoughtful, incredibly respectful of the community and the character, and we love nothing more than for them to be able to move forward as soon as possible.
All right, thank you.
A whole fan club.
Anyone else? Chris, or is it Ryan? I'm sorry. Can you go back to the plans? Not in our packet, but it showed all the setbacks of the neighboring homes as well. I thought that was very useful. So you're at 90. I know you said you moved it 20 feet, but you're 80-ish feet to the porch and 90-ish feet to the front of the house. And some of the neighbors are where? I thought I saw everything from like 60, 70 to 80, maybe one around the corner was closer to 90.
Yeah,
I thought this was pretty useful.
I mean, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, back in the day, a horse carriage didn't make much noise, right? And but we know what Main Street can be. So we want to respect that proximity, but at the same time, you know, there are bedrooms facing that, and there's, you know, library, and so we felt like that could possibly, that move forward could possibly close the gap enough so that it was not an issue.
Okay.
Did you say it was 81 to the street or to the sidewalk?
It's to the sidewalk, basically. It's the property line. It's on
From the porch or from the house?
A0.1 to the porch, yeah.
So the house is back another 8 feet beyond that.
Do you think we could go the other direction on Main Street? Because actually, I think this is the last house on this street in the historic district. And so if we go the other way, it might be useful.
left
So,
or
Mr.
right?
Chairman, are
Or
we
right?
opening up to comments at this point?
Yes.
As far as setback goes, I think for this particular property and this particular design, I think that 20 feet change made a great deal of difference.
It did,
And
yeah.
I think that particular property really can handle the position and the design, and it really has a very grand appeal. I think it's very appropriate, and I would support this.
I'll go.
ahead,
I
Jen.
agree with Justin. I think that the changes Chris made to the plans from the last version really soften and give a little gravitas and to the property. It's a little more character. I wondered just quickly, and I don't know if you have this information off the top of your head, the height of the original house compared to this house. I'd be curious to know that. And also, should I just do all my little comments that I have in a row and then we can address them, or I'll do that. And then one thing I noticed also is there's quite a bit of driveway right in the front of the house, a little car park that looks like it's directly in front of maybe a mudroom area. And I'm wondering if that could be maybe reduced. And then my last comment is about the cupola on the barn. The cupola, we all love cupolas. Cupolas are great and they make everyone really happy, but I'm wondering if this one is a little oversized and feeling a little bit more modern and contemporary. And by making it a little bit lower and smaller, it lets the main mass of the house shine a little bit and doesn't compete quite so much in heft and also in detail. That's my comments.
Should I respond or?
Sure. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so the existing house is height-wise is 33 feet off the first floor, 38 off of the average lot grade. To answer your question about the existing, the proposed is actually lower. It's 32 off the existing grade, 31 off of the first floor plane. With regard to the cupola, I don't think this cupola is too big, and respectfully responding to that, I guess I have a little bit of a knee-jerk Home Depot cupola phobia, in that a lot of these cupolas are undersized. I mean, they were intended for ventilation. The bigger they are, the more ventilation there is. But from a 3D perspective on the ground, that cupolas get smaller and smaller. And so I didn't want this to appear to be a small appendage on top. I wanted it to appear to be viable and recognizable. So spent a lot of time on its proportion. And I don't think it seems that modern. And I think in elevation that might appear the case, but I think in true real life, three-dimensionally, I think it fits the scale of the barn.
Tracy?
Carol, go ahead, Carol.
It's hard to see with all these pretty trees in the way now, but it looks like you still have blacktop and parking areas coming over almost to the main house. Can you wipe out those trees so we can see, or is it? I think I can see a car there. That's what's worrying me.
So is Sean going to speak after?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
if Sean's available, Sean, if you want to talk about anything, I do have your main landscape plan that I have up on the screen.
So it's showing.
I am here. Yeah, I am here. I see you have it up on the screen. Let me get to that. Yes, Carol. So this site plan has certainly helped. It'd be a little easier. It's not as pretty to look at as those, as that 3D model that Bryce did. We did a beautiful job on it. So you can see the driveway coming in on center line with the barn. So it tends to come on in center line with the barn. We were going to then open up into a parking turnaround area that kind of serves as recreation space for the house too, for the kids. The intention was to do some more specialty paving for the two folks who would park cars, visitor parking, exactly where you had your hand, exactly. Some sort of specialty paving. There might be granite slabs or cobbles. Same thing as you enter into the garage, an expanded granite slab or cobble ramp going into the barn. And then we're showing the other area where the parking area is and turnaround space is more for recreation. So that is asphalt in that location. We do show some crushed stone wheel runs going back to an area that you can see as a little rear pocket kind of garage space, a parking space inside the garage. Instead of doing 3 bays wide, the intent is to tuck a small little car back in behind in the barn instead of going 3 bays wide looking from Main Street or doing a very, very large side entry. We left minimal amounts of space on that side to just tuck a very small car in and around there and make it as subtle as possible.
I like the wheel runs. The wheel runs are a good idea. Thank you, Sean. But I'm still concerned about seeing 2 cars parked in front of the house. Do they have to be that close into the old front part of the house?
Obviously, if Chris, you could jump in here too, or I mean, that was certainly an area that we looked at pretty closely. The one thing that we really wanted to be cognizant of, we wanted to get visitors to come to the front door. That was really a big part of our thought process with the entire team, Chris and his group, and with Spiros and Athena. We looked at a number of different things. We looked at a big circle drive coming in. We looked at a loop drive coming in, starting where the old columns are now, exactly, and looping it all the way around. But we didn't want to take out all that green space. We really wanted that to maintain its green front flat yard, really. And so when we looked at this, we felt that one way to deliver folks to that front door, which is always a difficult task to do, was to do some specialty paving in place, 2 visitor spaces there when folks come. It wouldn't typically be kept there all the time. It would just be when folks are coming to visit. Otherwise, homeowners would be parking in the garage or along the side for where they use as a rec court. That was another thing too. One of the things we want to do was treat the auto court area as recreation space instead of building a large basketball court or large rec court some other place on the property. We want to do double duty with doing a paved space in the auto court. So we are intending to plant along that side property line, as you can see, to soften the driveway to some degree, as well as having the colonnade of trees on the drive in. Just to give you some reasoning for why we placed those visitor parking spaces there, but those are purely going to be used for folks that come in and come to the front door.
John, you've been doing this a long time. You know we don't like cars sitting between the house and the sidewalk any more than
they're only going to be there at dinner time. They're dinner guests. They're going to come at 6:30 and leave at 11 p.m.
You can't control that. You sell this in a couple of years and the next people have teenagers and they really like to park up there because close to the street. It just, to put parking right between the sidewalk and the old lovely house is just not something we normally say yes to.
You know, this was, we spent so much time on this, and the idea really is to make sure that people experience this house from the front door and that they don't come in the mudroom door. And sorry?
How about a sign, enter here, welcome. Go this way.
Just,
and
I
so,
was
I
afraid.
can tell if I can interject, I can tell you nobody ever came in the front.
Hold on,
If I could just
I was afraid this was going to happen, and I think if we could, because we haven't heard from Michael or anyone yet, if we can focus on the structure, I feel like everyone will be happy if we can push this house along, and if we have to come back to the driveway, we can take that, you know, we can do that separately. That's why I asked if the driveway was part of the application, because I was afraid that this was going to happen. But and I agree with the comments, but I think everyone really wants to get this, make sure that the house moves forward. So Michael or Carol, or I'm not trying to cut anyone off. I just
sounds like an excellent intervention.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide comments. I think I appreciate where you've gone with this. I appreciate the thoughtful solutions to our comments from the last meeting, and I think this is an appropriate solution to what you have. Unfortunately, our packet doesn't have what I thought was a really great sheet, and maybe we can get that submitted, but it's the one with the materials and the detail on it. And I'd like to ask just a little bit more about the specific materials you're proposing, not only for the siding, but for the windows, the window types. Could you talk a little bit more specifically about that? I'm assuming the siding and all the trim and everything you're proposing there is wood.
Yeah, so with the exception of the vertical nickel gap, which is boral, which is a fly ash, which is impervious to insects and rot, and it's a natural, I mean, it's fly ash compacted. Everything is wood. The windows are Marvin. They're not wood windows. They have a clad extrusion, aluminum extrusion on them. But all the trim would be cedar or redwood. And the shingles, white cedar shingles, pre-dipped and painted. And then the boral is it's a stable, as I said, it's an excellent material when you have long lengths of wood to make sure that the vertical lines stay vertical. And from a maintenance standpoint, it's excellent also, but it looks exactly like wood.
And we've, traditionally we're, our materials that we approve are wood, but on occasion we have approved boral for certain applications. So I think it's been a product that we've used sparingly. And I think, what you've described and what you're trying to do here might make sense for the use of that material. In regard to windows, typically we don't approve a clad window. It's usually all wood. On new construction, we do approve simulated divided light. So I assume that's what you're proposing here is simulated divided light as opposed to true divided light?
Correct.
With a spacer bar?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Those are my comments and questions.
Anyone else have anything?
I don't think I've been on the commission when we've had a whole entirely new house. So I don't have any experience with the clad versus all wood. I would just say that given that the problems we see with a lot of wood windows now, that cladding would be my choice as a homeowner, and I understand that choice. So I guess I'd like to hear from the commission.
Catherine, I might add that within our big guidebook that Andrea gave us, the 500 pages, there's a whole section called Guidelines for New Construction and Additions in Hingham's Historic Districts, pretty specific about a lot of stuff, including the siting, what materials can be used, how it should fit in with the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. It's all there. It helps to read it. wonder if I might ask a question about the right side of the house where the porch wraps around and we're seeing, looks like two doors coming out from the dining room facing Main Street. Are they, that's not a sliding door, obviously, would it be glass or are they doors or are they French doors? What are they?
Maybe Bryce can go to the elevation for that. Yep, those doors right there.
On A
They're,
2.1.
they're, yeah, they're, it would be French doors, glass.
Divided lights.
Yes. Tried to keep the front of the house very quiet from a fenestration standpoint, and not have there be anything that drew your attention.
Well, there's 12 windows that show across the front, if I'm looking at it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 maybe. On that one second floor level.
Mr. Chairman, I think your comment before was very helpful in that. I wonder if we could agree to approve enough so that they can, begin moving along, but the details such as a window schedule, as Mike had said, and some other information as
I
to
think-
materials. I think your
Yeah, I think
idea
there's
was
some
correct.
Questions on materials, on the window schedule, on the parking plan. I agree with what Carol and Catherine were saying. So I wasn't trying to cut them off. But I do think it would be great if we could make a motion on the structure itself, given its location, its perimeter, allow them to start the building department approval process and the demo and the excavation, and we can address a few of these other details
Later.
when they're ready. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll try. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 392 Main Street. It's a new 6,760 square foot single home family wood frame residence with attached barn garage. As seen in plans dated on, what are the dates? Anyone help me here?
8/5/21.
85/21. That's the date?
August
Yes.
5th.
Of these, that's this,
We submitted the
date on the
plans
drawing.
to.
yeah, the plan set.
Oh, 8/5/21. Thank you. Details of materials to be discussed at a later date. And hardscaping to be discussed at a later time.
Window schedule.
And window schedule to be addressed in another time. Anything else, Andrea?
Not that I can think of. Anybody else?
As I say, I hardly approve, if I were a voting member, I would hardly approve the present design.
I think we're there.
Anyone want to second the motion?
I'll second.
Carol, how do you vote?
No,
Catherine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mike, Justin, how do you vote?
All right.
Michael, how do you vote? You're on mute, Michael.
Aye.
And that's an aye for me. So thank you to the family, to Chris and your team, Sean. We had a little bit more than just an informal discussion last time, but I think it helped move it along.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
good evening.
much to all of you.
We
Love
really
to you
appreciate,
all.
we appreciate
Thank
the
you.
urgency
Oh, thank you.
the support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, are you somewhere out west yet or not?
Yeah, no, I'm in a hotel room in California.
Oh, good.
Hotel California.
That's great. That's great. Well, have a wonderful vacation.
Well, they say
Thank
you
you.
can never leave.
That's right. Welcome to Hotel California. Yeah, I'm leaving. I'm leaving tomorrow morning.
Well, thank you, Eva
Get the
and
John Denver
Bryce.
song going, right?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
And we also want to thank our neighbors that are still on for their support. So thank you very
Yes,
much.
That's
thank
great.
you.
Good.
Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Apologize for the lateness, but we had a few big projects here. Next is 166 North Street to install Tesla solar panels on the
And that's
roof of the
Louis.
main house. Luis Lieto, I think I see your iPad.
Yes, hi everyone. And
Hi.
I think there may also be a project manager on from Tesla.
I am Nathan Tissett, Tesla Energy. Here to help with the project.
Is anyone able to share their screen, either Louis or Nathan? With the application?
I cannot. I am on my phone.
Okay, I'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
While that's coming up, it's pretty straightforward. It's actually not solar panels. It's Tesla solar roof product. It's a product that's designed to replace asphalt shingles, to mimic asphalt shingles, however, produce PV energy at the same time. It is only going on the main house. It is not going on the secondary structure. I do have some photos included. Unfortunately, because we are doing this over Zoom, it's a little bit tougher to see the product, not in person. But I do believe Andrea gave an address or took some of the board members out to a home we did in Hanover.
I did not. I
Oh, you
gave
did
the
not.
address, but we did not go
Oh.
as a group. Sorry, I'm sorry I
That's
gave you
okay.
that impression.
That's okay.
Okay, let me just get my screen sharing going here. There we go. All right, there we go. Okay. So everybody can see?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you just tell me where you want me to go with this, okay?
Sure. If you could just, you can leave it right there. That's just a mock-up of where the active shingles will be on the main house. The secondary structure to the bottom right, again, will not have any. Currently, the house has asphalt shingles on them. The solar roof tiles, they are darker. They're more of a black color than a light gray. And really, they're, like I said, they're textured to mimic asphalt shingles. And really, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. There's not much else with this.
All right, let's
So
see.
I do have a quick question. You're saying the roof plan is showing the active shingles. So are they in a field of typical asphalt shingles, or are they all going to look cohesive? Just some are active, some are not.
Right. I should have clarified that. Some are active. The ones that you see, the little squares, those are the active ones. And the blank spaces will have the same tiles. They'll just be dummy tiles.
Okay.
It'll cover the entire roof.
Gotcha.
And is anything here that you would like to?
If you could scroll more towards the bottom, there is
Sure.
that's the view from
That's the existing
North Street.
house.
Yes. If you continue to scroll on one of the spec sheets, there is several pictures. This is a house that I had approved in the Cambridge Historical District to give you an idea of what the shingles look like. We also have had several homes approved in the Old Kings Highway Historical District on Cape Cod.
So I'm still not quite understanding. So the active tiles are the ones that are drawn in pen and in ink, and then the rest are not asphalt, but not active. They are the same product, but else.
Right. So for production purposes, the little squares are the active shingles that are active for PV solar.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the roof where there aren't the little squares would just be inactive tiles, but they're all the same.
Gotcha.
So it's gonna look cohesive, yes.
And what
Right.
was the address for that house in Hanover? Is that available?
I believe it was 76 Tucker Road.
Yeah, it's, yes, it's set back from,
Right, it is a little further back. And whereas this is a newer product, there aren't as many homes yet with this on this, so I kind of had to dig around to find the closest one I could.
Is that one in Hanover the same product, the same
Yes, it is.
color, the same tile?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
They're,
So
they're,
I
they're
don't
all
know.
the same.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know to the commission members if they had an opportunity to drive by. I did drive by that house, and as we've not, these are not solar panels as was described. Solar panels we typically, well, we don't approve, we haven't approved. This is a completely different product and is intriguing to me in a sense that it's a way to solve the problem of solar panels, but kind of get with the times and create some opportunities for homeowners. The one thing I noticed while looking by, and I would encourage commission members to see it, is and you can actually kind of see it in this photo here, it's kind of shiny, which was the only thing that the size of it sort of looks like a larger metal shingle, which I think may be okay, but the challenge I had was it's shiny, and when you see it in person, I think it shows a little more than what this image does.
Was there any discussion, or could the homeowner achieve their goals, their energy goals, by having the active energy panels just on the back of the house?
Do you mean solar panels or?
no, these tiles.
These tiles.
Oh, no, it's meant as a whole roof product. Unfortunately, we cannot, in other words, have the front asphalt and the back solar. It wouldn't work. There's a potential for leakage. There's no way to marry the two materials together at this time.
So there's, I think, going back to Mike's comment, they're all shiny. There's not more of a matte finish available, correct? This is what it is.
They're similar. They have a similar sheen to solar panels, a little less because they are textured.
Yeah.
The best comparison I could think of is if someone had a brand new black asphalt roof and it just rained. So you'll kind of get that. I don't really want to say glare, but there is a sheen. There is a slight sheen to it.
Mm-hmm. And
What's the size of a single?
It's approximately 3 feet by 14 inches, I believe, off the top of my head.
Andrea?
Yeah.
Andrea, is this the first application we've had for using these?
Yes.
Do you know if the state has allowed them in any other historic districts?
Well, I think Lewis was saying that they did get one approved in Cambridge and another
Right.
one.
I've actually gotten approved in Cambridge and in the Old Kings Highway Historical District on Cape Cod.
Oh, good. What's the comparison between solar panels and these in terms of price of installation, how effective they are, how much they lower your electric bill over time and so forth? Are these an improvement?
Well, I mean, solar panels are cheaper, but this is, there's a lot of factors that go into the roof, roof complexity, dormers, how many dormers, so on and so forth. But these are very productive as far as solar power goes, and they also work as a roof. They're hail rated. I believe their warranty right now is 35 years. So, I mean, the return on investment, again, it really depends, but solar panels usually about 6 or 7 years, solar roof probably a little bit longer at this moment, but again, it's designed to last minimum 30, 35 years.
It appears to me they wouldn't show very much on this house from, somebody walking by on the sidewalk if they were
Yeah,
shiny.
it's pretty high up.
But I do worry that we set a precedent, so the next person comes in and wants the whole side of their house done and they look shiny. There's nothing you can do to them to unshine them,
Not at this time. And again, it's unfortunate we have to do this via Zoom, as I have samples that the commission could look at and perhaps judge it better. I would recommend going by the home in Hanover. I can find the addresses for the ones in, I know Yarmouth and Cambridge are a bit of a drive. But I mean, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just had a quick comment. I noticed, just to shoot a couple of quick questions. The other structure on the site plan, is that a garage apartment out in the back?
It's a barn.
It's a barn.
So and that's way farther back from the street than this main building. Could the solar panels be put on, solar shingles be put on that structure and then fed to this structure? Is that a possibility? Is that just?
I think the homeowner would probably want to speak to that. I could tell you we could, but we'd have to dig up his yard and run a trench through his yard, and I'm not.
Yeah,
not sure
it's not on the same electric line as the main house. It's also, as you can see, partially visible from the road. And I think the roof pitch and the cupola probably make that less desirable. You can't see the cupola in this picture on the barn to do that. So that's why, for a number of reasons, we think it makes more sense to do it on the house.
And then one little comment, I drove by today and coming down Main Street, you're kind of up high and come down on the house. So even though while you're on the street, you're not, while you're coming down Lincoln Street, did I say that? I think I said Main Street. But as you're coming down Lincoln Street, you are quite high and come down and see a good bit of the roof. It's more apparent from Lincoln Street than from whatever that is, North Street.
And Mike, you said you looked at the house in Hanover?
No, I didn't get there.
I did, and it's a cape. It's a cape, and it's, so you see more of the roof on that house than you would on this one. And I think to Carol's point, it depends on the house, right? And you'll see less of it on this than you do on the one in Hanover.
So in that sense, it's not really a precedent.
Right.
I was going to say the steeper the pitch, the more noticeable the sheen would be. Same with solar panels.
Yep. And this is vastly preferable to traditional solar panels.
That's one of the reasons why I was attracted to the product.
Have you figured out what your payback is?
I would love to tell you that it was an unbelievably wise financial decision. It's probably an okay financial decision.
Yeah.
A question about
okay is good enough.
Is there other equipment that we'd be able to see?
So there would be what we call the balance of the system, the inverter, which would be on the side of the house. Actually, that's a good picture right there. It would be to the right where the garage is, correct? It would be kind of,
Actually, it wouldn't be there. It would be
Oh.
on the other side of the garage. And
oh,
then-
okay. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So you see where the fence is with the lattice? It
Right.
would be behind that, blocked by the large bushy tree there. So I think you would be challenged to see it from the road.
How big a unit is it?
The inverter itself it's on the spec sheet. I can pull that up for you in 2 seconds. Just bear with me a moment.
I'm a lot slower.
Andrea, I think in the past, when we've had new materials, we've had the opportunity to come over and check out a sample. I think when we were looking at some of the manufactured trim products and things like that in some windows, would it be possible to get a peek at the sample of the shingles, or at least a board with them on it or something like that?
Sure, I'm more than willing to bring it down to town hall or anytime. The company prefers that I do not leave it there.
Oh,
so
right, okay.
Yeah, so
That
it'd have
makes
to
sense.
be time that if everybody wanted to meet, I could, gladly bring a sample with me.
Sure, we could do that.
So Andrew, what I was thinking is I'm not hearing any, like absolutely not from anybody. Seems
I'd
be a
love
lot
to
of-
take a look at it and I'd love to find a way to say yes.
Yeah, so I think it'd be good to understand the size of the unit, because in that picture you just scrolled by, that white box on the side, is that part of the charging, or is this, nope, go back to where the car's in the driveway.
Oh, sorry. Okay, here.
Yeah.
No,
is that-
that's actually a power wall, a Tesla power wall.
Yeah, I thought
energy
maybe that
storage.
was the battery.
Yeah.
But I think we can set up a time to look at the product. And then at the next hearing, if we had an idea of where this unit, whatever it is, was going, how big it was. And please understand, we can't use trees and fences to hide things. So even though there's a giant shrub there today, it may not be there tomorrow. So I would have some good consideration of where that unit would be located.
So just to clarify, that unit you're seeing in this picture, that is the Tesla Powerwall battery. That is a lot bigger than the inverter. The inverter is approximately 6 inches in width. It's 26 inches tall and 16 inches wide. And it's white. So it's bigger than an electrical meter, but it does not protrude nearly as much.
And is it attached to the house?
It would be attached to the house, yes.
Oh, okay.
Sounds smaller than an air conditioning unit outside.
Yeah.
It's almost
Yeah.
looks like a little electrical panel. I've got the website up. But
Right, actually, electrical panel is a good comparison. And again, similar length and width. It would just protrude, like I said, 6 inches.
What were those dimensions? 16 inches wide, 6 inches thick?
26 inches tall, 16 wide, 6 inches thick.
Thank you.
I think then we are curious to know more about the product and see it and have a sense of
Would be happy to rendezvous at town hall to see it.
Okay.
All right.
And I will set that up with you.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. And I just wonder, how long is the install for this? How long does it take?
Well, again, that's tough to say because it depends on the complexity of the roof and how many dormers, how many cuts we need to make, how many hips, how many valleys. A small cape, a day and a half, 2 days. And that's counting stripping the old roof off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fairly quick.
Okay, all right. I was just concerned in terms of, because our next meeting is is September the 16th.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't going to, if the commission decides to approve the product,
Mhm.
that I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be too late to do something.
Well, I know weather can be a concern, especially once we get past September. Obviously, the the sooner the better. But again, it's up to the commission to approve it. So
You know what, Mr. Chairman, maybe you and I can talk about this and see if we can accommodate something else
Yeah,
before the 16th.
sure.
All right,
We can discuss that. All right.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
okay, thank
So,
you.
and I'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. Bye now.
Bye.
Okay. Next is 16 Middle Street. Again, sorry for the delay.
Let's see. Who is here for,
So I'm here.
Clancy or who? No,
Well,
you are.
Yeah, my name is Kevin.
You're
and I'm
not
here-
Clancy.
I'm not Clancy, no, but I'm from HC Design.
Okay.
And, so yes, I'm here representing our clients, Nathan and Chelsea Amendola. And they live at 16 Middle Street. And I think I can share my screen.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So, let's start off with the existing site plan. So we've got the existing house here. We've got Middle Street. So we have the existing house, which has on the rear, it's got this bumped out kitchen and screen porch, which I think was probably added. It might have been added with the garage because it has concrete foundation under it, and the existing house has stone. So probably mid 1900s. And it's the garage is connected to the main house with an open. There's a roof that attaches both structures, but it's open from front to back. And then the backyard extends back, and it's very heavily wooded, lots of plantings back there. And so this is sort of our proposed overall plan. The green is the existing structures, and the red is sort of what we're proposing to do. One of the things we're proposing to do is to fill in that sort of walk-through space with a new mudroom, which would alter the roof slightly, would only raise the ridge just a little bit. But one thing we really want to do is really maintain the look of the house from the street and not alter it. At least the front of the house anyway, not to alter it at all. It's just in the back here. So this is the existing first floor plan, and this is Middle Street up here. So this is that kitchen bump out. It's a one-story kitchen bump out with a screen porch. The screen porch is the roof is starting to sag and the floor is starting to sag. So it is in a bit of disrepair. So we're proposing to remove that, and then then we'll get to the proposed. This is the second floor plan. Again, just showing this single story roof that is we're proposing to remove. This is the existing front of the house with the garage, and this is that open sort of walk-through breezeway. And you enter into the kitchen. So you walk through here and you take a right into the kitchen area from the open breezeway. So currently there is no mudroom area. Rear of the house, this is the one-story kitchen and the screen porch. From the right side as well, same thing. This side of the house, I'm sure everybody's familiar with this house, but it's a beautiful federal style building, and on the left and right side of the main house is all brick, which we're not going to touch. So this is the proposed first floor plan. Again, Middle Street is up here, and what we want to do is we want to fill in this space and just make a nice proper mudroom. Because I said, right now you just sort of walk into living space and then into the kitchen, but they've got a new baby and growing family, so having a mudroom, a proper mudroom, I think is key. And so you enter into the house here, and we would expand off the back of the house with a new kitchen and a new sunroom, heated sunroom. And then a new terrace area in the back. There is an existing pergola back here, and they love the idea of that pergola. So we want to maintain the pergola, just extend it more towards the backyard. But once this mudroom, gets filled in, this backyard area wouldn't be visible. We have a one-story future yoga studio, which is entirely outside of the building setbacks. And these columns here support part of the second floor addition that extends beyond the footprint of the first floor here. So this is the second floor plan. This infilled mudroom is only one story, and the roof line stays well below the existing garage, much like the roof on the existing sort of walk-through is now. And then the addition on the back is sort of the new master suite area, and laundry room. Right now the current laundry room is in the basement, and as their family continues to grow, they'll need those sort of utilities on the second floor. And this area here would be sort of a walkout roof deck over the sunroom below. But it's a kind of a perfect opportunity to really take advantage of what we're doing on the first floor, and just have this nice sort of sitting area in the back. The backyard is quite private. So it's a second floor plan, roof plan. We're proposing to hold the addition about 8 inches in from the existing back corner. And all the roof pitches would match the existing roof pitch, which is about 5. I think it's, there's a little bit of a sag to it in some areas. So it's somewhere between 5 and 6. And same with the garage. The garage, all the roof pitches are the same, which is what we would propose for all the new structure as well. This is the new ridge, and it would sit below any of the existing ridges or hip lines. And all the soffits and eaves, gutters would all align especially on the, on the new second floor here. So this is the front elevation. So you can see there's really no change except for infilling this right here. So a new mudroom door with flanking double hung windows. Everything would be the Marvin wood windows. And I think we have a window schedule that we've provided you as well. The garage is staying the same. And this ridge on this part here got a little bit higher, but only by about a foot. So it's not a noticeable difference. And so now on the right side of the building, this is the front over here. So we've got the 1-story sunroom, 6/6 double hungs, all wood windows, and period style wood rail above that. And then this is the extent of the addition, which sits back sort of behind the face of this brick. And the brick is such a prominent feature that this would be all wood clapboard siding, painted white to match the front of the house. So it would really be sort of subservient to the brick, which really pops when you drive down the street. And the proximity from the side of the house to sort of the tree line to the house to the right of it is kind of, as you drive down Middle Street, you only get a very small glimpse of sort of this side. But, because this is so prominent, we want that to be, the sort of the focus. And this would be the rear of the house. And we've got some snapshots from street view around the neighborhoods, and which we'll get to after this to show how little of the sort of the back of the house you can see. But again, this is that extended second floor addition. And these would be probably 10-inch fluted round Tuscan columns. This is the sort of the pergola extension on the back. And then this is that bit of the walkout deck that kind of pops out there on the side. And actually, I'm going to rotate the view real quick so we don't have to all turn our heads here. So this is the property here. This is the house right to the right of it, which again, the front of the houses are all pretty much in the same line. So as you come down Middle Street here, you only get really a small glimpse of this side here, but Clancy's thrown together this map with these little guys on it. So you can see how those correlate to sort of the photos from the street. So view from Middle Street. And again, we're holding the addition about 8 inches off the corner to really maintain the prominence of the existing house. And again, that brick really kind of shines. And then, this is the left side of the house here. But again, the proximity of this garage here really cuts the view a little bit as you come down Middle Street this way. Let's see. That's kind of the same photo, but and then this is the right side of the house. So this is the side that you would see the most of. But again, that brick really stands out. Here's some nice views from Common Street. I think the house is back here somewhere behind all this shrubbery. That's a little bit of it peeking out here. So again, as you go around the neighborhood, it's pretty obscured. There it is again.
Mhm. Oh,
Um,
jeez.
so yeah, you can't see it very much from the back anyway. All Marvin signature wood. The casing and the sill, the thickness of the sill and the depth of the sill, all of that would match. We would match the existing with all that. The new trim and clapboard would be Jewett white, which is out of the historic paint colors. Any new doors would be painted black. Asphalt roof on the new addition to match the existing roof shingles. Clapboard, same, there'd be wood, same exposure, so everything would match. This is sort of the pergola in the backyard, which again, as I was saying, once you fill this in, wouldn't be visible, but extending that more into the backyard as it grows with the addition. And there was some talk, I think, about trying to maintain some of these beautiful plantings that are back here, because I think they really love sort of the atmosphere of this backyard, and trying to kind of replicate that with new work that we do. So this would be an example of sort of the rail that we would use on top of the sunroom. Just sort of a simple all wood, painted Jewett white to match. On the front of the house, I think right now, there's onion lights out there, which wouldn't be period accurate, I think, to federal style. So they want to replace the lanterns with these, which I think is much more appropriate. These would be on either side of the front door, and I think the garage as well. And then on the back of the house for the new terrace, I think the clients are either going between the bluestone option or something, a brick option. It's brick now, and so whether or not they want to maintain that brick or go with something, different here. And then this is the window schedule that you can look at. There's a lot of information there, but it's basically, the Marvin signature wood windows, casing and sills to match the existing. And I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Are there any butters?
We had.
I mean,
yes.
on the meeting, we would like.
Oh, yeah, sure.
No. All right. Anyone on the commission have any questions or want to start comments?
I had a question on, do you have an elevation of the left-hand side, so the driveway side of that second floor addition? I didn't see that in the package.
It wasn't in the package, but I did draw one up quickly. And let me see if I can pull that up. Let me see. Okay, so can you guys see that? Okay. So this would be the left side. And this is sort of like a cut through. This would be the mudroom cut through. Because if I had drawn the left elevation with the garage would have obscured most of this. And on the second floor plan, which I can go back to, this is part of the master bathroom. So this is where like the vanity is, which is why there's there's not many windows here, but this would be that elevation. This is all existing. And the existing door into the house is right here. But that would be, that would be covered by the new mudroom.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. No, that's helpful. That was a missing piece. It's good to see what that upper elevation will be.
Anyone else?
For the rear windows on the second floor, I guess those are all going to be removed. What is their state now? Are they antique, or what is their current condition? And is there a plan to reuse them if they are antiques?
That's a good question. I think they're, they are in the same condition as the windows in the front of the house. Whether or not they're able to be reused once they're pulled out is sort of another question. But we can look into the condition that they're in. I think
they are original to the house.
When you look at photos of the back of the house, the styles of some of the windows back there are different, and they differ from the windows on the front of the house. So whether or not they're original to the house or they were put in, they were replaced at some time, sometime after that.
How are those designated on the schedule that you've given us? Can you point those out to us?
The existing windows?
Well, I assume that each on the second floor, that those rear windows are on the schedule, and are these just the new windows? Because I see future dressing room, but there's not a listing of the current windows. I'm just
okay. Yeah, because with the current windows, I don't think they are planning to do anything with those right now. So we didn't add them in with the schedule. The schedule is just for the new windows.
Right. I think I'm being really confusing. I'm sorry. I apologize. So in the past, when we've had clients add on to a home and the antique windows are removed and disrupted, we often try to at least save them with the home. So they're, preserved if a window needs to be replaced, or better yet, use them in the new addition somehow. That's kind of like our ideal.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't plan for that, which is why those aren't in the schedule right now.
Is there a view of the existing rear? Just how many windows will be? Because I think the lower level, they're all gone.
Yeah.
I think they're gone. They don't seem like original windows.
Let me get to the second. So this is the rear of the house now. So there would be this window, I think we're saving. So because on the second floor here, we jogged this in so we could save that window. So that one is staying. And so it's these three that are being affected. And you can see like the grill patterns in all of these are different. So
little history lesson right there.
Yeah, I mean, all the ones on the front of the house are all 6/6. This one is a 9/9. This one's 12/12. So where these ones came from, I'm not sure. But we're definitely saving this one, and then so it would be these three that would be removed.
Okay, and then my other question is, could you get the functionality and space you need without giving extra height to the mudroom roof? Say the lower pitch.
Yeah, we could definitely, one thing that we could do is, so on the roof plan, I could maintain that front pitch up until we hit the ridge, and then have a shallower pitch from there back to wherever we need it to go. If we really want to maintain the ridge height of that roof. So that's definitely an option. Yeah.
Thank you.
And if this, so right now, we wanted to maintain at least a 4 pitch here. I think if we were to keep the ridge height where it is and then extend this back, we might get into sort of a 3 pitch. It might start to get shallow enough where we might need to think about a different roof surface.
And then I have one last little thing.
Sure.
On the left side of the new addition, so the garage side of the new addition, I think you do have a little peek of view, as Michael was pointing out, of that the top of the house will peek up beyond the garage as you're walking by. Is there a way to improve that big blank section of wall, maybe with a blank window, maybe a faux shuttered window or something, to add some symmetry and balance to that facade?
Yeah, that's definitely something we can look into for sure.
Okay, those are my 3. Thank you.
Sure.
Carol, Justin, any comments? Questions?
No, seems pretty clear to me.
I'd like to say that coming down Middle Street, I know the red brick does stand out.
Yeah.
I have red brick too, but you still are going to see this addition going on the back with a lot of windows and a railing up above and a column holding up what looks like the back of the second floor of the house.
Yep.
I don't know what to say about it.
Well, I mean, that column is sort of back behind this, this 1-story sunroom, which is behind this. So I think it probably wouldn't be quite as visible, but a lot of federal buildings did have these sort of open rail balconies, so it is sort of keeping with the style. But yes, that column would probably be visible.
Is there any way of getting the light you want in the sunroom without 5 windows lined up? It's so shocking next to the old house in the front. What is the age of this, by the way? Are we 1800s?
The house is built in 1805. And there is a sort of a screen porch that's there now that extends to, I think, about here, which is all just screen, and it is in pretty rough shape. So I know there's 5 windows. I think it would still be a pretty dramatic improvement to what's there now. But we can look at different window configurations as well. We can look at having 4 windows in there, or
that does have such a modern look.
Although
well, I mean, the windows would match the other windows as well, and I know from the elevations, and I'm sure you guys have seen millions of elevations. From the elevations, it is tough to gauge in 3 dimensions how you would perceive the face of that, because you'd be seeing it at an angle, so it wouldn't appear as large as it does in elevation.
Saying that's set back from the corner of the house?
Well, you'd be seeing that whole side of the house sort of at an angle. So right here, you're looking at it flat on, as if there's no house to the right of it, and you're able to see that entire face. You'd be seeing the building at an angle, so things would be obscured. Some things that you can see here would be obscured, I think, as you walk down the street. But it's something that we could do a quick little rendering or something of that side of it.
Just, I'm on Google Maps right now, going down the street, and it looks to me like there's 3 windows already. So, and they are visible, but they don't feel modern or
Yeah.
or
And if-
or out of they don't seem out of keeping for what's there
And
currently.
I think I'm on Google Maps too, and I kept going down Middle Street, and at least the next 3 houses down the street all have, while different, have sunrooms off to the side that have a fair amount of glazing that actually look quite nice.
I agree.
Do you feel like we need to schedule a site visit? Would that be helpful?
Jury polls and a site visit would be perfect.
Anybody else?
Site visits always seem to help.
Okay. So if we were to do a site visit, then can we give, it's Kevin, right?
Yes.
Yeah, can we give Kevin some thoughts as to what we want to see? I think we want to look at those 3 windows to be removed.
Mhm.
And anything else? Carol, you said you want to see something staked out. Is that what you said? Carol?
Yes, I said yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't hear you. It's hard to hear you now. Okay.
Maybe for Carol, maybe it would be useful to see a pole where the column is and see how it appears as you're going down, the height of the column and the and placement of it from Middle Street. Would that be useful, Carol?
I think staking out all the dimensions of this new addition, corners, with the height, just to get a sense of, we're doubling the mass, basically, of the house. I'm not crazy about closing in the connection between the barn and the garage and the house. I think it changes the whole look of it. The barn, the garage becomes sort of an extension of the house.
Mhm.
An 1800, well, that's always not an 1800s garage, so
Right.
connecting it doesn't make sense to me. I'd like to see this old building preserved in view from as much as possible.
Landry will schedule a site visit. We'll look
Yep.
at those windows. We'll get the corners staked out. We can, I guess we can look at potentially some symmetry on that left elevation in the back corner there. And maybe while we're there, we'll see some of the precedents on the street, some of the other sunrooms and the amount of glazing. But that's the
Okay.
bulk of what I heard. Go ahead, Carol.
Notify
Yeah,
the
I can't
neighbors.
hear you, Carol.
I don't know why, I'm sitting in the same place. You notify the adjoining neighbors when we're on a site visit, can they come look at what's gonna happen? Or not?
Of course they can.
It's a public notice, right?
Yeah, it's a public notice. So.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Kevin, I think then what I'll do is I'll call your office, I'll call you, and we'll set up something prior to the next meeting, which is September the 16th.
Okay.
All right?
All right,
Thank you.
that sounds great.
You did a nice job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last 279 North Street, adjustment on.
But not least, hi, Julie.
You're on mute, Julie.
Yeah,
I feel like we made Julie wait this summer too, like an hour.
It's all right. Take it easy.
But
on
I
me.
see in the photos, the pool got started, so.
The pool has started, probably not shockingly for you guys. It is not going to be finished in time to go swimming this year. But it's moving along. I guess, let me see if I can share. I don't have my 8-year-old here, so I'm not as good at the Zoom.
I remember that the 8-year-old was a big help previously.
What the help? Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, good work.
Oh, I did it. Can you see my cursor too?
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. So I'll just give you a quick background for, I think the membership has changed a little bit since last time. So with apologies to those of you who have already sat through this, I'll just give you a quick background. We did an addition on the back of the house in 2019, and that's shown in the red here. The historic house is just the part in the front. And you can see from the side photos, the addition is the cedar and the historic part is the blue. There are a couple different angles. You guys all have these packets in front of you, right?
Yep.
And when we came in April to get the fence approved, I think you guys will remember, we kind of like dealt with the left side of the house and the right side of the house. The original plan we had was for the fence to kind of come out over here on the right side. So we weren't really thinking about them together because they were not meant to be symmetrical. And what we ended up approved is the fence coming out here on the right side, which is right in front of this patio that we have. And right here on the side of the addition, we have sliding glass doors there. And we ended up with the fence coming out kind of in the middle of the addition on the other side. And when I sat down with the fence guy again, he was like, that's kind of weird that it's not symmetrical. And I was like, that is kind of weird. And I think the reason it ended up like that is that we didn't kind of think of it as, we weren't really considering it as a whole. We were considering it as the left side and then the right side. So all we want to do is move this side forward so that the fence comes out the same side of the house on both sides, instead of having one side be set back. This is about 6 feet. So you can see, this is the side of the house that we're talking about. So it corresponds right here. And you can see right now it's approved to be kind of between these windows. And we just want to push it forward so it's the same on both sides, which is about 6 feet. So that's really straightforward this time.
It is straightforward.
And I've included a couple of shots from the street. I mean, it's still really set back pretty far from the street either way. So that's all I've got.
I'm gonna say that seems sensible.
Sensible is right.
Sensible at 10 o'clock.
That's perfect. Yeah, it's especially helpful to be sensible at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, so that's all I've got. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm happy to walk it through, but I think it's straightforward.
Yeah.
I think it seems straightforward, and that seems like an appropriate adjustment.
Okay, good.
Actually, an improvement, I think.
I think so too.
It is an improvement, yeah.
All right, good.
Right. Is there any other comments? Everyone's good?
No.
Someone wanna make a
Straightforward.
motion?
I can make a motion. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 279 North Street for a fence adjustment from a previously approved application on the west side of the yard. The shift orientation of the approved tool fence forward 6 feet. So the fence is lined up with the meeting spot of the old and new home, the old addition, the new addition, and the old home, to match the other side of the house, as seen in drawing submitted on 7/29.
Yep. The 20, yeah.
Yep, July 29.
I had an idea to that. I'd like to see the separating beam that comes down or whatever. I don't think it's a downspout.
The corner board.
Yeah, I'd like to see that exposed from the front, and so that, you know, a few
That would
inches
be,
back.
that's a nice detail. I like that too, Carol. That's the main historic home be seen all the way down. That's a great idea.
Yeah, so reveal trim board to street.
Yeah, corner board to be seen by the street.
Yep.
Second, any,
There's a second. Carol seconds. All right. Carol, how do you vote?
Aye.
Catherine, how do you vote?
aye.
Justin? How do you
Aye.
vote? Michael?
Aye.
And that's an aye for me. All
Okay,
right.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, team.
thank you.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Good night.
Last thing we need to do is
Agenda.
look at the
Or, I mean,
minutes.
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 I have a correction,
Okay.
just to show off that I read them, right? So it's the little house on, I don't have it in front of me, the little house where we talked a lot about, he's gonna put a new fence across the front. I think it's Prospect Street, or no, Pleasant Street. And there's a sentence in there about that I had said something about moving the little windows around. And that was definitely Catherine. She's got the eye for that kind of thing. I don't
Oh,
want
all
to-
right. So,
That was me.
so what was, that's probably my fault. So, where is it? What page?
Towards the end, I didn't have it printed out. I read it on my phone.
Maybe I can find it.
Well, what's the address? Do we know the address? It's the Pleasant Street house, right?
Yes, that corner, Pleasant
Oh, yes, okay.
Lane.
Yeah. All right, so we changed that to Catherine.
That's
Got
it.
the eye for all that.
I caught that too, Carol. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I want credit. I
Want
read it too.
Credit. Okay. Are we good? Anybody else?
I'm good.
Nope, we're all good.
Do we still approve the minutes with that correction or?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So move.
Robert, come on.
Uh,
We have to do a roll? I forget. We don't do a roll, just,
You do a voice vote.
Yeah, we just do a voice vote, yeah.
So I'm gonna
supposed
say
to
aye.
approve the minutes with that correction.
Aye.
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 All right, and last but not least, a motion to adjourn
Aye.
and a second.
Second.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, good night, everybody. You did a wonderful
Good night.
job.
Good night. Sorry to